Hello and welcome to the SBK Betting Podcast, a very special Cheltenham preview. We have got Ross Millar over from France, especially. We've got TC. We join you here in the studio. We're really looking forward to previewing the best 4 days of jumps action that the world will see. Last year, we found a few winners, good few winners, but I think we're coming into this year's podcast in pretty good form. Our regular Saturday afternoon podcasts have been going very well, and we hope we have found some exciting horses for you for the week ahead. A very quick word on the special Cheltenham offer. The new SBK customers can get £20 in free bets by betting £10. T's and C's always apply. But we've done our homework. We're going to get on with it. We're going to begin with Tuesday and the Supreme Novices Hurdle. Always run at a fast pace. Always a great betting heat. But I think this year, as wide open as we've seen in a good few years, it's likely to have a big field and be competitive. And I feel like, TC, I'll start with you first, a bit more like the 2020 renewal, where we saw a great clash between Shishkin and Abracadabras. There's not much separating a lot of these horses, but you have always been a long-term fan of Facile Vega. Can he come back from what was essentially an absolute blowout last time at Dublin Racing Festival?
Yes, in short. Let's start with a strong opinion. Yeah, I really think Facile Vega is the horse to beat in the Supreme. I know people are going to be doubting him because, you know, last time at Dublin Racing Festival, he didn't show the same kind of pizzazz that he showed prior to that when he won the Champion Bumper, when he won over hurdles at the start of the season. However, he returned lame. The tactics were wrong anyway. They went far too hard from the outset. There were viable excuses for a below-par performance there. If he gets back to the form prior to that effort, why wouldn't he win this race? He would be 8-13, 4-7 if you won at Dublin Racing Festival. Right now, you're getting 5-2. I think that's a great price.
So Facile Vega has been shorter than this, as you said earlier on in the season, and has drifted out. A reaction to that run, as we'd imagine. Your opinion is too bad to be true, and he'll come back to his best. Willie Mullins, obviously a genius, Ross. We know what he's like, but he's got plenty of horses in this race. What do you feel? Too bad to be true? Is this a horse that can bring back his A game? Was there something here that can beat him?
I think it's definitely that it was too bad to be true last time. I think TC is right with that. But it's how they repair him. And I think they're going to hold him up, as they did to win the bumper last year. And it's how they rode him all last year. And then this year he's made the running. And I think it could basically be like one of those tents you get. You know, they're neatly packaged in a bag. Once you get them out, they're hard to get back in. And I don't see that it's going to be easy just to teach him to set it, as you say, in a big field. Marine National, again, it's a big field for him that worries me. Lacking experience, as does his clearly very talented jockey, but big run of field around Cheltenham opening day. I wonder about the nerves. I tipped uphill Eté at the start of the year as my novice hurdler to follow. Julie backed him for the Ballymore, so I think I can see how that's going to go. But he clearly is seen as being inferior to Facile Vega. So just one at a big price. So I think you need to travel. I think you need to stay a strong leader, Ollie Murphy's horse. He's been doing it in low-grade contests, but doing it very nicely. He's a really strong traveller. He looked to finish powerfully at Aintree last time. Whether he can take the step up in grade is a guess, but he's about 25-1. He jumping is coming along. I think he'll be ridden to pick up the pieces, perhaps, and he'll be travelling, turning in, and it's then what he does up the hill. But in a race where I struggle to pick my way through the top of the market, I'll go bigger price.
We'll probably have the same discussion throughout the course of this podcast, but do you feel that the Irish horses this year, these novice selections, are as strong as they've been over the last couple of years? Obviously, Constitution Hill was a bit of a special case last year, but you think Strong Leader with the UK form can really step up to the mark of the Irish?
Well, the Irish have definitely got the best horse and they've definitely got the best form. I just hope, like everything, you're always going to get a couple of outliers. I think this is a smart horse. Ollie Murphy and his father do buy nice horses. They don't go exactly toe-to-toe at the sales, but they give it a good swing. And I think he's a nice-looking animal. Done it well so far, so yeah, I'll take a chance.
Okay, so Strong Leader at a nice double-figure price for more than each-way selection for Ross. Marine National, you mentioned him. I really like him. He's going to be my selection. Experience-wise, just the 2 runs. I suppose the break is possibly the question mark. Where's he been? Why have they kept him at home? I know this has always been the plan, but I think it's a real classic case. I'd love to get your thoughts after as well, that if he was trained by anyone else, he'd be short price favourite for this race.
He would be, but if he was trained by anyone else, and we're probably talking Willie Mullins, he wouldn't have been put away after a Royal Bond and coming for this. So it's a brave shout. And we have to believe that he is better on better ground. Trainers telling us that, but his standout piece of form was on soft ground. And that alone is not good enough to win this race. He's going to have to step forward. Yeah,
as they all will. They all will. And with a Facile Vega with questions to answer, it makes it a good competitive betting heat. I'm going to throw out Diverge as well, the son of Frankel, who could be a bit of a freak. I don't take a lot of these previews with the trainers that seriously, but sometimes there are words that some of the trainers say that you think, okay. And Willie Mullins said that he could be something a bit special, and not many horses win their maidens in the way that he did by 23 lengths. So I quite like that, but he could be a horse for the future. But I think he's one to keep an eye on in this race, and the confidence Willie Mullins has for him to bring him here anyway. So Diverge and Marie Nationale for me, strong leader for Ross, and Facile Vega for TC. As we move from one novice race to the next, it's the Novice Chase, obviously the Arkle Chase, the next race that we're going to focus on, and we have had a horse in this race that's just been the ultimate kind of Arkle horse all year, John Bon. He's unbeaten over fences. He's with the right connections. He's in the right colours. He's also related to the right horse in the shape of Duvan, being his full brother. He's won this race before. But El Fabiolo's really thrown his hat into the ring. And Ross, arguably, I feel El Fabiolo, his win at Leopardstown, a slightly higher achievement than what John Bon has done. I know he's only got to run against the horses he put against him, but that Irish Arkle, spectacular.
It was an amazing race, wasn't it? They went hard from the outset, and you could say that it compromised Dysart Dino and Appreciate It, but Al Fabiolo wasn't sat off them and picking up pieces. You know, he was right there from the start. He's got a huge engine. The form ties in from the Aintree last year. That was Al Fabiolo's, I think, second hurdle start. John Bon had a bit more experience, but John Bon was coming out to Cheltenham and sometimes run a bit flat. So I think they're really close. John Bon is the better jumper. He's the most reliable jumper. He's got scope, he's got exuberance, but he's very intelligent as well. Al Fabiolo has got a mistake in him for certain. The whiteboards, Willie's been out with his whitewash at home and putting a whole new schooling ground, but you cannot replicate championship novice pace at home. So of the two, I'd come down on John Bon. But the more I look at it, I'm going back to my old friend Dysart Dynamo, because this is an easier trip on the sharper old course at Cheltenham. Danny Mullins has had a proper go on him now, and I just wonder whether he might find the Flooring Porter breather somewhere coming down the hill just to fill his lungs and go again. He's a really good jumper. He's looked better over fence. He's not been quite so wild. Was pretty disappointed after the Irish Arkle, and then once I dried my tears, I thought about it again, and I could just see this is a different test. Maybe Nico and Aiden, and Paul Tanner play cat and mouse, and Danny can just slip off into the distance and they won't catch him.
It's actually a point about jockeys. Do you think that Daryl Jacob won't be on El Fabiolo then, and it will be a Paul Tanner man? We know that it's quite political there with who Willie Mullins can choose. Does he choose? Does the owners choose?
I think my understanding is that Darryl rides all the double greens, unless Willie says that he wants Paul Townend on, and I think Willie will say he wants Paul Townend on, and that's the way it will go. And I would think Paul knows the horse better than Darryl, because he's at home, every day of the week. So it makes sense to me.
Paul's also ridden him 3 times, Darryl just once. So I would agree with Paul's the best option here.
Yeah, because Paul obviously chose Appreciate It in the Irish Arkle, who is, his price has drifted out. And I think that the common understanding or sort of thought around him at this stage is that he's just a little bit past it at the age of 9, and the younger legs of these other horses will play into their strengths. Obviously, Dysart Dynamo, he's got that Underso style, doesn't he? He's exuberant. He's a lovely horse to watch. I tipped him for the Irish Arkle. I was a bit disappointed. I still think he's a bit of a work in progress, but I can see where this might bring out the best in him. I just think that there are 2 horses at the top here that they're ready-made for this race. It is very difficult to split both of them, and I'd imagine that's probably where one of them you're leaning towards.
Yeah, well, John Bon is the selection. I don't want to shut Ross down here, but I don't see Dysart Dynamo. I don't see Dysart Dynamo as a player. I was with him in the Supreme last year, and I've given up on him since then because he was cooked, in my opinion. John Bon was going to beat him by a considerable margin. Constitution Hill, obviously, would have beaten him by even further. So I think John Bon will confirm that form with Dysart Dynamo. John Bon's also beaten El Fabiolo. El Fabiolo's only lost once under rules. That came at Aintree. John Bon won that race. And I think that track would have suited El Fabiolo better than it would have suited John Bon. If John Bon wasn't visually unimpressive against Calico, he would be even money. Yeah. And in the January podcast, in an Antipost Cheltenham podcast we did, I said he'll be even money on the day. I'm going to revise it to 5-4 now. I think he'll go a 5-4 favourite. He's 13-8 right now. I think he's the best horse in the race, and I think he wins, John Bon.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think that's done us as tipping this horse a bit of good, him being visually unimpressive and just essentially winning a 2-horse race in very gritty, hard work style.
The thing is, though, he was visually unimpressive, but there were reasons for why he was unimpressive. It wasn't because he was necessarily underperforming. Maybe he did underperform, but that wasn't the actual reason. It was that the fences in the back straight of Warwick come quick and they come in succession. If you lose momentum over one of them, it takes a lot of rousting to get the horse back up to full gear. Calico was given a phenomenal ride, like a 100% brilliant A+ ride. He attacked the fences, he gained an advantage, yet John Bon still managed to beat him. And, Calico's subsequently boosted the form, albeit in a much weaker race. I think he was valued for much more than the winning margin that day.
Yeah, the tactical affairs, and he's only literally had to do what these races have given him, whereas when we're going to see a bigger race, a better race will bring out a better John Bon. That's what I think.
Exactly.
I think the one thing about El Fabiolo, he's never been to Cheltenham either, never seen him there. He's obviously missed it last year, as you say, about the track, and the fact that John Bon's been there. Yes, he got beaten by the freak that is Constitution Hill, but we know that he will go okay around there. So I'm with you, TC. Very confident about John Bon, and he's the one that I'm most looking forward to seeing on the first day, and probably just second to the horse we'll talk about next.
That's a big shout.
Yes, the horse we're talking about, the key to my heart. We'll talk about the Champion Hurdle next, but a quick rundown on the selections for the Arkle. So TC and I for John Bon, Dysart Dynamo for Ross, and we're going to do selections for all of these feature races. We've also got obviously our handicaps as well, but the feature races are the ones that we're going to focus on. But we will talk about our selection for some of the handicaps at the end of each pod. Right, Champion Hurdle. Okay, as racing fans, this is what we want. This is what we want to see when it comes to the Cheltenham Festival. Constitution Hill has been nothing but flawless. We can wax lyrical all day. There's not much more to say, Ross, is there? We just hope that he delivers. We know that there are shocks at Cheltenham. Every year there is. It would be an almighty shock if he gets beaten.
Yeah, it's one of my pet annoyances when people say this horse is a certainty, because there is nothing certain about horses other than the fact they are an uncertain animal. He's the best horse I've seen in my lifetime. I'm convinced of that. He'll win this in a canter if he gets there in A1 form. And horses are horses. The best trainer in the world last year took Shishkin to Cheltenham, thought he was A1, and after 3 fences it was pretty apparent to everyone that he wasn't. But this is a super horse. He jumps, he relaxes. He's everything you want in a racehorse. I think he'll win it. I was toying with ideas of Vauban each way. I'm not going to have a penny on the race. I'm going to sit back and watch a really good horse under a really good jockey, trained by a master, do its thing, I hope.
Yeah, what do you usually like? A bit of cake, bit of tea, maybe get out the champagne, especially?
I would just sit, and I can't multitask. I'm a man. So I can watch or I can eat, so I just watch.
Yeah, look, there's so many fair points. He's only a 6-year-old. That's what makes it so exciting. And he's in a Champion Hurdle off the back of what's just been mouth-watering, hasn't it? And it's fabulous to have the racing. But yes, you are right. You've got to remember that these are horses. They've got to turn up. Everything's got to go right on the day. But it seems like it's been quite a seamless entry into the Champion Hurdle. He's obviously got a great rival and State Man, but it's his mind. It's the way that he can just race in any way that Nico de Boinville wants to do with him that makes him so unbeatable. Yeah,
he's very versatile. He's got the class to win this race. He's probably going to be one of the best Champion Hurdle winners, fingers crossed, that we've seen in the last however many years. A slightly trivial statement, but a Constitution Hill fan account on Twitter followed me last night, so maybe that's a sign as well. I will also be watching this as a neutral. I think Constitution Hill just wins, but he's a short price. Stateman's a worthy opponent, we'll say that. He deserves to be in the race, and if Constitution Hill wasn't in this year's Champion Hurdle, he'd be a short price favourite, but I think he's no match.
Yeah, you got to sit back and enjoy him, really, don't you? It's good though. I was worried at one point that we were going to have 3 or 4 runners, that nothing was going to turn up. It's good though that it looks like we're going to get a nice enough field without being anything mad. And fair play to the Tristan Davises. They're very happy to go for it. This horse, I like to move it. The Greatwood winner who bolted up last time at Wincanton. He's a great horse to have in the race. And I think at around 16-1 to chase him home, that's not a bad bet, is it?
Not for each way thieves. The each way thieves out there looking for the 3rd place, maybe even 2nd if one underperforms. But,
I'm happy to be a thief just for one day. But I don't think it's really a betting race, is it? But it is good, very good for racing that we've got a good field that are happy to give it a go, and also say that they were there, they were part of it, if it does become one of the races that will go down in a bit of history. So that's the Champion Hurdle, not really a betting contest, but something that we all as racing fans can just enjoy. Right, we'll move on to the Mares' Hurdle, and with still some time to go until we know exactly who's going to line up, this is a little bit unclear. We know Honeysuckle definitely goes, but then the rest, the next couple, Marie's Rock and Epitante, who's yet to be supplemented, they're the ones that can really change the shape of this race, Ross. So what are you thinking at this stage? What would you like to see happen?
Well, I really hope Epitante is supplemented. I think it's a really nice little race. Echoes in Rain would be the selection if this was over 2 miles, but it's not. And I just think she's going to be too keen, not going to stay. She's a talented mare. Love Envoy, I think, needs soft ground. She's, again, a really nice mare. And these mares wouldn't be bought by these big operations if there wasn't a mares program. So people that knock these races have to bear in mind that these mares come through the mares program and then they go into open company. Okay, Honeysuckle's dodging the open company, coming back to mares, but I think it's been a great initiative. Honeysuckle, I just think she's looking a weak finisher now. I know she's won over 2.5, but I think she's got quicker as she's got older, and I think that bottom line stamina is not where it was. I think Epitante's an absolute knockout bet in this. Not far off her single best piece of form. Bear in mind, she's Champion Hurdle winner, was Aintree last year. I mean, it looked like she jumped in at the last. She powered away. I know she was then beaten by Marie's Rock at Punchestown, but she's struggled with her back. And I would imagine that she's a fairly difficult horse to put back together after a run. You know, the muscle strains, just little niggles. And I think she probably was just below her best at Punchestown. Comes here fresh. She's definitely going to stay up the hill. I hope they supplement her, but I think she's going to take a hell of a lot of beating here.
Yeah, I think she's a horse that Nikki Henderson doesn't get enough credit for, because I don't think she's easy. I was actually at the Kempton Gallop morning last week, and I listened to her in her box before she got brought out. She was kicking the place down. She's an absolute wired to the moon type of horse. And she takes a lot of working out. And I think they've done a very, very good job with her. She's just a little bit fizzy. But when she's good, she's really, really, really good. And I think she's just been unlucky to have Constitution Hill in her barn, and also in the races that she's running.
Absolutely. I mean, it was a couple of years back that, you know, Nikki Henderson was in the paddock at Kempton when they were in a racecourse gallop, and had noticed she was swishing her tail and had wondered whether she was a bit uncomfortable in her back. And that was prior to a couple of below par runs. You know, it's this attention to detail that perhaps doesn't get noticed enough by mainstream media. And you're absolutely right. The job they do with these so tightly wound thoroughbreds, particularly the mares, is incredible. Yeah, it is. I've been saying that I'm not actually going to select her, but I do love her. I'm not sure where she's going to go. They're still thinking about the Champion Hurdle. Obviously, this is a race which you know it would be a slightly easier option, but they're still mulling up their ideas. With all that said, TC, they've got in the yard another very good horse in the shape of Marie's Rock. She's been a bit of a revelation, and I don't think we've seen the best of her yet. No, I don't either. She won this race last year. We can't forget that. She's got proven course form. She was really good last time out, despite being keen earlier in the race. This race I'm going to take very tentatively as a punter, I have to say. Maybe I'll sit it out, but you know, sitting out an hour, 2 races back to back at Cheltenham, it's hard. Gamble responsibly, but that is difficult. So maybe I will have a play on Marie's Rock. If she does run here, she's entered elsewhere. But she's probably the strongest up the hill, I reckon. If there's a fight, if there's a head-to-head battle, I want her, even though she's keen in the early stages of her races. There are just big question marks about the others. I mean, Epitante, 1, will she run? 2, and then I don't really think she's as good as she was. I think she's good enough to win, but I think if Marie's Rock is improving, then maybe they're well matched. Yeah. You've got Honeysuckle, who's definitely not as good as she was. Brandy Love can't jump.
Yeah.
It's just an absolute shambles. She's got the talent to win, but I wouldn't want to back her. Love Envoy, I don't think it's good enough. Echoes in Rain doesn't stay and will be too far back. And I don't know, Marie's Rock just seems the solid option. Maybe Epatante is if she runs, but I'll take Marie's Rock at this stage.
Yeah, it's a tricky one because we also don't know if Marie's Rock is going to go here or the Stayers, and I really like it for both, regardless. But she's just one that's just really come into her own. She's thriving, whereas, as you say, Epatante, she's probably had her peak moments and she still runs very, very well. But I just think that Marie's Rock has just got just a slight edge. So I'm with you if she turns up here. So big sort of, we're still sort of uncertain at this stage with her, with their targets. So we'll go on to the National Hunt Chase, the next one, because we do know targets for this race. We've also on our, we've had lots of different Cheltenham specials. We're looking at the Novice Chase, looking at novice hurdlers, looking at the championship division, and there is just one horse that we've all agreed on, and it's actually quite scary because we don't know what we're going to say, and then so this magic happens. But because of that, and the podcast's gone on, the price for Mr. Coffee has crashed. It's gone. It's the worst kept secret in racing. He has been our selection for this National Hunt Novices Chase at the end of the day at Cheltenham. Is he still your selection, Ross?
No, not at the prices. I wouldn't worry that he was beaten last time. I don't think they were particularly fussed to get beaten. I think it was a getting to know you, getting to like you round. I've actually done a full 360. So my first anti.
I can't believe this, by the way. I can't believe it.
I was surprised you haven't said it before.
Who are you?
I Gaillard de Menil was my first, one of my only early anti-post bets for this race. And then through the season, I think it was TC put me off. Like I wasn't all that keen. And then you actually look at the runners. He hasn't even got to run to his best to win this. He's head and shoulders above this lot. Patrick Mullins, in amateur races, having a good amateur is worth plenty. Patrick would be one of the best there is, obviously. It's not exciting. And at the price he is, maybe it's another race to sit back and watch. That'd be 3 in a row.
That's not why everyone's tuning in.
I think he takes all the beating in this. Mr. Coffee at a big price. I think we've done well there, but not at the price he's at now. I don't think he's just not quite reliable enough, and he's not of the class of Gaillard de Menil.
Yeah, he has probably halved in price. I think we were talking about 20 to 1, 25 to 1, and what he's about 9 to 1 now. So I think there are and I would imagine you probably think the same, because there are a lot of seconds to his name. He's I do get a little bit tentative around horses that just can't do it enough, and it's been too much of a bridesmaid. But again, they're a team that will get him spot on for the big occasion. He ran very well here last year. But yes, the prices just ruined it at this stage. But are you still going to keep him on side?
Well, I have to, because I'm opposing Gaillard de Menil, and I don't much like any of the others. Actually, I backed 3 in the race, and I think I said that I backed 3 in the race when we recorded the anti-post back in Feb or Jan. So I kind of have to stick to the 3. I can't go 4 or 5. That's just a bit too ambitious for me. Mr. Coffee, the price is gone, but he's not leading my trio right now. He ran in the Muir last year, finished second, as you said. Only run 3 times since. Ran in the Topham, didn't handle the fences, so you just put a line through that. And then his 2 subsequent efforts, finished second both times, wasn't fit on his reappearance, wasn't asked for maximum effort last time out by Derek O'Connor, who's one of the leading riders.
Yeah, good booking, very good looking.
Yeah, my other 2 selections are Chemical Energy, who I'm pretty cool on now, to be honest. I don't really like him. His jumping's gone a bit skew. Ross mentioned that back in the anti-post pod, so he was right there. And the other's Tenzing, who's another horse that can't jump very well, but he's definitely got the ability to feature. Yeah. But if Gaillard de Menil wins this race, I lose. That's it.
Okay, fine. Well, that's it. It's us against. I can't believe we're saying this, but us beat Ross.
It won't be the same for the rest of the pod.
Yeah, it really very odd. Anyway, look, Mr. Coffee, we have been with, but yeah, as you say, price gone a bit. Sometimes this race can cut up. There was a very small field last year. There's 23 at this stage. Plenty have got different selections. That could change the whole setup of this race as well. How much pace is around? Who's going to stay? That's my kind of concern about it.
It's a race that could do with being reviewed, actually, couldn't it? Like penalties for graded wins or something, because you get a horse like this scaring everyone off, because he is effectively well in, if you get him adrift.
Yeah, totally. They have changed it, haven't they, with the distance and so forward. So I think they're just trying to solve a problem, which is maybe bigger than what they've already tried to do. Okay, that's the main look at all the feature races for day one, but we're going to obviously give the guys an opportunity to give their handicap selections at this stage. We've got the weights now. I think there are, again, a lot of horses doubly, triply entered, but the races that we know we have a bit more guidance on, we're gonna have some selections as well. And I think the Ultima, the third race from day one, is by far always one of the best betting races of the week. And I think we know about horses that are definitely going to go to them. So we're going to get if there is a selection in here from either TC or Ross, we're going to go for that. But we've also got the likes of the Boodles as well. So I'll start with you, TC. Anything from any of the handicaps on day one?
Unfortunately not, which is not what people want to hear, but this is a marathon, not a sprint, Cheltenham. Day one, as I said, I'm going to miss a couple of races, including the Champion Hurdle. I take it slow, got a few decent bets elsewhere. However, there will be tips, shameless plug here, by the way, there's the camera, betting.sbk.com for all the selections on the day. There will be a selection for the Ultima and the Boodles, but right now, I'll leave it. Okay,
and there's plenty of handicaps to come for the rest of the week as well. So I think we respect that. We do, TC. Ross is going to have something somewhere. This is where you excel in. So what have you got for us?
Right, I've got a short list that interests me. Largely revolving around John Joe O'Neill, actually. He's got 3 entered. Iron Bridge, who I don't think will run. I think they'll want plenty of rain for him. Monbeg Genius and Cursoren. Now, Monbeg Genius has gone up £8. He's got £5 for beating Stormy Flight. Stormy Flight came out and absolutely hosed up the next time, and he's got £3 stood in his box. But he was really impressive at Chepstow, and all the way up the home straight at Chepstow, John Joe O'Neill Jr. kept taking him back. He was valued for much more than the margin he won by there, because he only popped the last couple. I think he's a really nice horse. Just whether he's got the experience to go into a big field like this. He's run in fairly small fields would be a concern. And then Cursoren is John's other one, who won at Newbury, didn't get put up. He's still on 140. That was quite an impressive win. And I don't think lining up the plan was to win. I think the race kind of fell their way. And it was only sort of turning in that John Joe thought, I can go and win this. And coming to the last, he was in a battle. And then at the line, he was 8 lengths clear. At the bend down the back, he was 12 lengths clear. He looks like he's a really thorough stayer. So I like him. And then the other one that just has got the smell of a clock job is Fast or Slow. Been running over 2 miles in graded chases, getting hopelessly outpaced, but was second in the Coral Cup last year for 141. You've got to, 2 miles to this trip is a big step up, but he wasn't stopping in the Coral Cup over hurdles. I always think you get a bit further over fences than you get over hurdles. Mark of 141. He didn't get thumped by the Irish tax, just £3 seems fair. So yeah.
He's a horse I really like. Not sure whether he might be here or the plate, though. They've got 2 races inside. He's shorter price for the plate, which makes me feel like he might be going there. But I'm agreeing with you, Fast or Slow. I have to say, I saw John Joe O'Neill at the weights launch last week. He was in a bit of a hump about the weights. Was not happy about a few of them and wasn't particularly... it was slightly reluctant to answer some questions as well.
Has anyone ever left the weights launch happy? That's what I want to
know. Trainers without horses and handicaps who've enjoyed the free lunch. But yeah, I think he was a little bit put out by them, and you've just got to think that that's probably got something to do with Monbeg Genius. But I do agree with I like this horse. He's extremely progressive. For me, I don't have a correct rambler in here. I love this race, but there isn't anything that's screaming out for me. But Monbeg Genius, I agree with you. And also Remastered, I want to forgive his last run. It was definitely too bad to be true. Go back to some of his best form. I think he's better than that. And if there was just not his day last time, he's better than that. He is quite high up in the weights, and he is an older horse now, but he's probably valued at around 14-1 for me.
Not going to have Tom Scudamore though.
And
and that is a loss for the pipe yard at this time of the season.
It is. It's a very good point. David Noonan, you'd imagine?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the Ultimate. Anything else from anywhere else?
Just one in the Boodles, Cougar, who just was way too free last time, but didn't have any cover. Mark Walsh got sort of post on the outside. I don't think he would ride it that way if he could ride it again. Speed mile 2 on the flat, stays mile 5 on the flat. A decent 92 plus rated flat horse going hurdles, and he looked in his first start like he loved jumping. He was really slick, he was really quick, beat horses rated 109, 110, beat them 13 and 18 lengths. Fast pace and a bigger field might just mean he can get a bit of cover. and he's still an Entire. Entire son of Deep Impact going into national hunt ranks. I mean, that makes things exciting for me. And I think he's just perhaps gone under the radar a little bit, and only £2 Irish tax, which is, as we'll go on through this pod, fairly low on the Irish tax.
Underrated trainer as well. Padraig Roach, I think he's when he gets the ammunition, he's very, very good with him, isn't he? Wonder with Mark Walsh whether he'll be fit for the festival.
I think it's looking unlikely, isn't it?
Yeah. Interested, some great options for some other younger jockeys, just some of the Irish jockeys, and especially in these colours. And JP McManus, he's bought as much as he can, hasn't he, to make sure he's going to get at least a winner or two a week. And if you're right, there might be John Bonnet and Cougar just on one day. So good luck to that team. Okay, so that's our naps. We'll go to our naps next. That's some of our handicaps. We're going to do a nap and a next best for every day. So TC, take it away.
Yeah, the nap is John Bond in the Arkle. I've already given my reason. I think he should be a lot shorter than he is right now, despite the fact he's 13-8. I think he's a good thing. And the next best, I'll stick with Mr. Coffee, but at the 25-1 that we gave him back in January, I think he's just got a great chance, and I want to be taken on the Fav. Okay, fine, brilliant. And for you, Ross?
Shift away from you both a little bit. The nap is Guy Ardemanio.
Oh, boo!
Right, like the 9 daggers.
I just don't see what beats him. And the next best is Pertemps, assuming Marie's Rock goes to the stayers.
And assuming she goes to the for the mares, not the champion hurdle. If they throw a real curveball, that would be an interesting decision. Okay, for me, my nap is Marie National. I think he's a good price for a horse that could be far better than what is a very open-looking Supreme. And then my next best is Monbeg Genius in the Ultima. I'm intrigued by that horse. Hopefully he hasn't gone up too much in the handicap. Okay, on to day 2 we go of the Cheltenham Festival. Hopefully we've given you a few winners from the first day, and we can roll quite seamlessly into the Wednesday, where we've got some more excellent racing. We're going to begin with the Ballymore Novices Hurdle. Again, fairly wide open, although we've got some good standard of horses, and it's good to see that the UK are represented by a genuine Grade 1 winner in the shape of Hermes Allen. And if you listen to some of our other Cheltenham preview podcasts, especially one from the Novice Hurdle division, we talked about Hermes Allen and his price and why, essentially, TC, why he can't win this race. Why are we trying to find reasons for it to get him beat? Surely he's done everything you want to win a race like this.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Hermes Allen, as we all know. Backed him the last twice, tipped him last time up. He jumps better than 99% of novices. He stays this trip. He handles the track. He's got the best form, but I'm taking him on. It seems contradictory, doesn't it? The reason I'm taking him on is because of the price. And it's not because he's too short, but it's because of the disparity between him and Goodland. Hermes Allen's 11-4, Goodland's 11-2. I think they should be closer in the market than they are right now. So from a value perspective, and betting's all about value, albeit I know most people just want to find winners. From a value perspective, I have to tip Goodland. I think he's well capable of winning this race. I think he's got a similarly high ceiling as Hermes Allen. Yes, he hasn't done as much on the track, but he's a Grade 1 winner. Last time up was quite impressive. I think he's the only horse that can actually throw it down to Hermes Allen in here. And I know Ross is giving me that look with Impere Pass. And I know loads of people love Impere Pass. He's been some charity bets in other preview podcasts and preview nights. But I think this horse is going to disappoint. I feel like he's a massive hype horse who's done really well in 2 races so far. But here's the reason. First up when he won, yes, very visually impressive. Horses he beat, it was a huge field, 20-plus runners. Horses he's beat combined since 0-38. Beat nothing, beat trees. You can win easily. You know, you can only beat the horses you're up against, but he beat nothing. Last time up, he beat 2 handicappers, who were big prices, and 2 listed class mares. Now he's facing the boys, facing Grade 1 caliber opposition, yet he's the second favourite, 7-2. I think that's a terrible price. I think he's all hype. If he wins, I'm happy to eat my words. Look, he's done nothing wrong on the track, but he's a terrible price. He should be 6-1.
Okay, so it's the Willie Mullins factor, really, isn't
100%.
it? But then, with that in mind, saying that he's beaten trees and Hermes Allen hasn't beaten trees. He's won Grade 1s. He has turned up at Cheltenham. He's won here.
Yeah.
Why can't we be that? Why are we not choosing it? I can't work it out myself either, but I'd like to hear your reasoning and then I'll come to mine.
My reasoning is literally price only. I will have a saver, as I've touched on before. I have to have a saver. I know having a saver on the favourite just sounds ludicrous, but because I have that loyalty to Hermes Allen and he's the horse to beat, I have to have a saver on him. Maybe he wins. I'll be happy if he does. I'll be cheering for your sake anyway.
Well, I mean, it was more with this horse. when you're looking through races and you're trying to build a case for a horse, there's not a case against him, but it's really this, we've been there, done that before with Brave Man's Game type of thing. And I know he seems to be visually, from what I haven't seen him in the flesh, a more compact horse, more ready for now horse, whereas Brave Man's Game was always going to be a better chaser. That's not maybe my kind of thinking is that his best race was the Challow, and he might be a deep ground horse, and a bit like when we come to Brave Man's Game in the Gold Cup, he's reached his ceiling, and whereas other horses we don't know if they reached it yet. That might be my only slight query with him. What do you think, Ross?
Yeah, I think a lot of people have knocked him through Brave Man's Game, and that's absolutely not. Yeah. Two different horses in Completely. 2 different years and 2 different races. Because there's no Bob Ollinger in this. No. Bob Ollinger was, and a top class Bob Ollinger took Brave Man's Game apart. But I look at Hermes Allen form, and, Cheltenham, he beat Music Drive, who's not much cop, and We've All Been Caught, who just looks plain slow and ran badly last time. The Challow form, the second You Wear It Well won a fairly moderate mares listed race. 3rd and 4th have been beaten since. And then people are using the horses that pulled up and were miles back, have boosted the form, but they didn't perform on that day, and the ground was desperate. I think he'd be fine on better ground. He's got a nice action, but I just can't have him. Champ Kylie in there he made his own running at Cheltenham, Hermes Allen, and got the run of the race. He didn't make all the running in the Challow, but he was still able to do exactly what he wanted to do at every stage of the race. I'm not sure that's going to happen here. Champ Kylie, I think, will go hard. Goodland, I think, can see the case for him, but he's dropping back in trip, and I just wonder how that's going to play out on a slightly sharper track as well. Then Gaelic Warrior's in there, but he's going to jump right and come the Goshen line up the stands rail.
Annoy everyone a little bit. Yeah.
I just really like him Pertemps. He's a slick jumper. He's got bags of pace. I think he looks like he'll stay. I do really like him. I'd be very concerned if I see Paul Townend jocked up on Gaelic Warrior. That would be a real kick in the guts, because he knows them both pretty well. But Gaelic Warrior couldn't win the Boodles last year off, what was it, 129? Jumping away to his right. Yes, sure, he's had a bit more experience, a bit more time, but I'd be disappointed if he could beat Empire Pass. And then just going back to the other one I mentioned last time, and she's still entered, probably will go mares, but Katira, promise you, she's a really, really good horse. She's won egg and spoon races, but pulling the cart, giving lumps of weight. She's got an official mark of 128. You could easily make a case that she ran to a mark in the mid 130s last time. £7 allowance puts her pretty close, and she's yet to come off the bridle. She's 33 to 1. Yeah,
she's a big old price. It is, depending where she goes. We talked about this point on day one podcast about jockey bookings, jockey selections. Paul Townend has got a lot of it wrong at the Dublin Racing Festival, and it didn't do any of Willie Mullen's horses any harm. He still won a lot of the races, but did the wrong horses win the right races, or the other way around?
I just think as you get to Cheltenham, Paul Townend's now got the Dublin Racing Festival information.
Yeah.
I think the more information TC gets about the number of times a horse runs, the better picture you can make as to what the ideal scenario is for each horse. It's going to be the same for Paul Townend. And as Willie likes to say, they'd have turned a few screws. And some screws have been turned and gone the right way, and some will have turned and threaded themselves, so to speak, and won't be what they thought they had left in the tank. So I think he probably, when he gets to Cheltenham, he has a better strike rate of picking the right horses.
Would you worry about why he didn't go to the Dublin Racing Festival in Pertemps?
No, I think it was just, when you look at his race programme, it just didn't suit. And, they can't run everything there. So no, it's not a problem for me. And if Danny Mullins is on him, I'm not going to be worried. But I just think you'd have to acknowledge that people that know the horse better than I do think he's not as good as another one.
Yeah. I think it's really tricky. Like, if Hermes Allen wins, I obviously wouldn't be surprised. I just think that the Irish form is better. The Irish horses are better in general at this stage than the UK novices, but we shall see. In Pertemps again as well, for me, I think he possesses a lot of potential. Love the way he jumps. I think he's a better jumper than any of these others. He's only a 5-year-old as well. He's got lots of bags of potential, and just with the genius as well, he can improve him. I'm going to throw out in the pocket who I put in the one of our anti-post previews. I like the idea of him stepping up and trip. I think that's really, really his run last time for Henry de Bromhead was very eye-catching. He's just a horse at a nice each-way price that will pick up the pieces. I think I could see him running well into the frame, and I hope that he's going to become a better horse as he gets older as well. And the Ballymore does normally produce horses for the future, so always a good informative race, as is the next one, the Brown Advisory. So we'll move on to this race, 3 mile, half a furlong for the Brown Advisory. And got to say it, guys, my nap of the festival's in this race. I absolutely adore Jerry Colombe. I think what he did at Sandown, despite being at the wrong track, being with the wrong ground, everything not really being right for him, he still won and did it in the manner of a horse that is far superior to the others. I don't think this is going to be a brilliant race. Not too worried about Sir Gerhard. I can't trust really Time Hill. And I think if you can get 2-1 for Jerry Colombe, that's a brilliant price. With me or against me, TC?
I am tentatively against you. Tentatively. It's probably the race on the Wednesday that I will sit out, I have to say, because I think Jerry Colombe could be the real deal, like you've hinted that he might be. He's 7 for 7. You know, he's done nothing wrong.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, I think that's due to placing rather than raw ability. Maybe he has got the raw ability. Maybe he is exceptional, but I think he's been put in the right races so far. I think he's also pretty damn slow, but you can be slow and win this race. You know, I'm not saying you can't win for sure. Why haven't they run Sir Gerhard in the stayers, by the way? Right, I'm getting back to this. Back to this. They should be running him in the stayers. They're going here to the Brown Advisory. Look, I love this horse. I'm going to have to put him up. But he's in the wrong race. I think he's the only horse that's capable of beating Jerry Colombe. Or maybe not capable of beating, maybe the only horse I would bet against Jerry Colombe. Time Hill's too old. He can't win on trends. Yeah, you know, he's got class, but he's not in or whatever.
He should be in the stairs hurdle.
Well, yeah, he should be. And the real whacker, who's the second favourite, I think, right now, he jumps phenomenally out in front, but at the same time, he's been winning small field races and just dominating from the front and never seeing another rival in here who'll be taken on. And, you know, I don't think he's good enough. So I'll probably sit it out, but I'll have a loyalty bet on Sir Gerhard, because why not? Okay,
well, Jerry Colombe, yes, placed well, shrewdly done, brilliantly judged. They wanted to separate him from possibly Mighty Potter for the Dublin Racing Festival, hence why he went to Sandown with a real worry and concern about the ground. And it probably will be on the quicker side for him again, but I think his natural ability gets him through. I just love this horse. As you say, 7 from 7. He's just been phenomenal as a chaser, and I can't see why not. And he's got the Irish form as well as the beating at the best of our British horses. So, no, disagree. Oh my goodness!
Your best of the week. I don't lay. He'd be my lay of the week.
No,
wow, I like it. I like it.
Big, heavy topped horse. Like if the rain comes, this changes this race completely, and I'd be absolutely with you.
We should talk about that, by the way, the forecast, because everyone's saying it's going to be quick ground, or relatively quick, but the weather forecast is looking pretty grim. Obviously, Cheltenham does tend to be good to soft for the first couple of days of the festival, but this could be soft ground, but it could be good ground. Like, we don't really know at this point.
Yeah, it's already watered, so it's a big task for that clerk, of course, to make sure he gets it perfect. It's an unenviable job. I don't think it matters really, though, for the ground for this horse.
Big, heavy topped horse on a sharp track, coming down that hill at Cheltenham on good ground. He beat Balka Coastal 2 lengths last time. You know, and he wasn't on the bride. He wasn't cantering away. And I know there's plenty of chat that Balka Coastal, Nicky Henderson's quite sweet on him for the turners. This is a pretty poor race. Jerry Colombe, you know, they're all on form lines. They're all in there.
So who's beating him? Who's better than Jerry Colombe in this race?
I think Real Whacker is a better jumper.
Yeah, I agree.
And he stays, but the race he won over 3 miles was pretty moderate. Thunder Rock, he got a poor ride at Cheltenham when rallying very quickly up the hill behind.
You love that horse.
Real Whacker.
Beaten by who last time?
Beaten by Jerry Colombe last time. And he definitely did. Now, Thunder Rock definitely didn't handle Sandown, for certain.
Right.
But he's 12-1. He was 33-1 when I first mentioned him. I still think he's got a chance. He'll love the hill at Cheltenham. And then there's James de Burley, who was really disappointing last time. But then you look at it, I think there's every chance he just bounced last time after a big effort, after 660 odd days off. Behind Mighty Potter last time. But if he comes back to what he did on his first run, which was massive over fences and the best of his hurdle form, he is the most talented horse in the race.
He made a bad mistake early on in that race last time, didn't he?
Yeah, and then could never get back into it, and I think just ran below himself. He's 14-1. That's the bet, I think.
She's not had the perfect prep in. A lot of these horses haven't had the perfect prep in. I think the Real Whack is the only one that I would be more concerned about. They could go to the Gold Cup, though, and just go for it, because I don't know if Patrick Neville will have many horses in this shape.
I think that would be a poor move, personally.
So do I.
Possibly. I still think Jerry Colombe is better. And anyway, I'll just stick to my guns with it. I'm disappointed that there's bizarre cases made against him, but he is right at the top of my list. And let's see what happens come Brown Advisory Day. But for me, Jerry Colombe sitting out of it, tentative Sir Gerhard selection in James Burley and Thunder Rock for Ross. Let's see who'll be laughing after the Brown Advisory on the Wednesday. We'll move on to the Champion Chase, another wide open championship race, a race that I think we could all have agreed at the start of the year. A lot of our preview podcasts, Energy Mean had the world at his feet. And we'll get opinions on whether he disappointed or whether or what it was the last time, but he was beaten. He was beaten fair and square. He didn't look like the same Energy Mean. And Ross, you know horses very, very well. And they put it down to the fences and the new white markings on the fences. William Mullins has now redesigned his whole yard with the white markings. Do you think that's a good enough excuse?
Yeah, it sounds ridiculous, but it really is. You know, it's coming into spring now. I'll have a black toe at some point now in spring because one of the broodmares will stand on my feet because the bluebells have popped up and they weren't there the day before. You know, they do notice these things. Some horses just don't. They go around in the world of their own, and some really notice. His jumping, which is normally an asset, was not an asset last time. I don't think it was a great ride. And he was beaten much further than he needed to be beaten because he made a very bad mistake at the last. But he made a very bad mistake at the last because Paul was slightly panicking and trying to find something that wasn't there to land running and
he looked panic station,
pull it out of the fire. And then once he landed from the last and realised that he'd, nearly put him on the floor, he sat quietly and just cantered up the hill. So that the winning margin doesn't matter. It's proved that he's vulnerable. And then you go back and you think, well, the big line of form that we judge Energy on is that he ran Shishkin to such a short distance, and that was a brilliant run. And then you see what Shishkin's done since, and that he's not really a 2-miler. And then you start to question, well, actually, is Energy as good as we all thought? But then you go back through his back form, and he's beating decent horses by massive margins. So I think he is. I started to pick this race apart to oppose Energy, and I came through full circle back to him. Gentleman to me, I hope Mark Walsh is back because he's a likeable rider and a nice guy. But if Danny Mullins rides Gentleman to me, that's an advantage. This is a horse made for Danny Mullins. That he can just sit against him, find a breather. It was a big improved performance last time. And he has beaten Edwardstone before at Aintree, but I think Edwardstone ran below himself. So it's a less of a gimme for Energy than we perhaps thought all the way through the season. Editor Jeet is improved, but has got great rides. I think Energy is going to win. One I'll just mention at a massive price is Finneman to Savola, because there is a chance that they all just go a bit too fast because Editor Jeet wants to go forward. Gentleman to me will be free. Energy can be ridden more forward. They're definitely not going to... They'll have Edwardstone behind them this time, not in front of them. And I think Edwardstone will be a little bit closer as well this time because I think Tom Cannon probably was a bit too cool last time. If that combines to create an overly hard pace, Finneman Savola will probably be a fence behind at the top of the hill, and he could just run past very tired horses into a place at a big old price. Okay,
I think he nailed it. Essentially, this is going to be the most fascinating tactical affair of the week. We know from the Clarence House Chase last time what a mess it really all sort of became. And as you say, pitch perfect ride by Niall Houlihan and Editor Jeet. Can he do it again? Do they know,
He's
how?
done it twice.
He's done it twice, but the jockeys will figure that out. Obviously, Energy probably Paul Townend kind of definitely underestimated Editor Jeet and followed Edwardstone around a bit and then panicked. So I can't work out how I'm fascinated to know how it will pan out, but I'm happy for that reason to stick with Editor Jeet if he can do it again. And at least, even if he wasn't to win, I think he still could be right up there because of the way that he can control races. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you'll know your fate with him after a couple furlongs. If he's taken on and they're going ridiculously hard up front, then maybe he just fades back through the pack and has run like he does in a couple of times in handicaps when he's taken on up front. But last time out, he was really good on the front end when he just gets to set his own speed and not get hassled. So he is a player, but I'm sure that Energumene and Edwardstone now know, well, the horses don't, but connections know that he's now a big threat. So they'll make sure that he's not given such an advantage. I'm sadly on Energumene at even money. Now, I say sadly, the sadness isn't derived from the fact I'm on Energumene, because I think he still wins. He's the most logical winner. But the sadness is that I got even money and it's now 15-8. So I've jumped the gun. I got that wrong. The value wasn't there when I thought it was. But then I thought he was going to win the Clarence House. And if he won the Clarence House, he would be 4-7 because he would confirm form with Edwardstone. And Edwardstone would be a bigger price. He'd be a shorter price. I think he wins the race. I think he jumps a lot better. I think he travels a lot better. I think he's given a better ride. I think he's the best horse. But I missed the value.
Fine, that's fair enough, and that can happen. I think everyone, that's why I went off at 4-9. The Clarence House, we all thought he was going to win that, and yes, they're going to learn a lot from it, aren't they? And it actually doesn't do horses that much harm, like we know with Shishkin. As you said, it doesn't do it much harm when they do get beat to make sure it's right for the biggest day.
Doesn't fracture their confidence. We should just say though, the Flooring Porter, we go in the SBK chat group, the Flooring Porter scenario, they know what's going to happen. They won't let it happen again. Well, TC and his red-faced emojis, they did it last year, didn't they? So it's not an absolute given that Niall Houlihan can't ride the race he wants to ride.
Well, thank you. You've made my case for me. And, you don't want too much egg in your face when you think, how can we not learn from, we're meant to be watching races and reading it and learning what's going to happen. You've got to slightly put your faith, if you're Energumene fans, in, Willie Mullins and Paul Tannen nailing their tactics, and obviously his jumping as well. Mm-hmm. But there's just too many uncertainties for me. And Editor G has been nothing but phenomenal. And considering a horse that couldn't win a Grand Annual last year is now here as up there in a Champion Chase. It's a phenomenal story. And again, great for racing. So Champion Chase, Energumene for Ross and TC. And I'm going to throw a bit on Editor G in a really fascinating renewal. Really, really looking forward to it. We'll keep going. We'll go on to the Champion Bumper next. I think this is a race that they're a bit of a muchness, aren't they? They've all done everything right, essentially, coming into this. So that's why they're in the Champion Bumper. Willie Mullins will dominate it, as he always does. Great to see John Kiley here with a horse that's unbeaten as well, a son of Muir. But then it's basically your pick of Willie Mullins and Gordon Elliott's, or is it, Ross?
I think perhaps not this year.
Oh,
normally it's a Willie Mullins benefit, isn't it? And Gordon occasionally gets on the act. I think it's nonsense for anyone to be trying to tip a Willie Mullins trained horse for this, because if Willie Mullins doesn't know who his best bumper horse is, we've got no chance.
Yeah, I know.
So it would be no surprise if Willie Mullins has the first 6 home, but equally, given that they've not yet found the real superstar, I'm more encouraged to look at other trainers and horses. It's not normally a race I'd look at because it's just Willie Mullins. I tend to leave it alone as a betting medium. So just 2 that I like as types, and I'll follow them forward after however they run in this. Favour and Fortune of Alan King's, gorgeous big strong horse, travels really well and showed a change of gear off the turn at Warwick and very quickly had that one and stayed on powerfully. And he did that under a penalty. I always think horses that win a bumper under a penalty are above average because it's not easy to do. And then Incanto Bruno, John McConnell's horse, has course form, looked very raw. So it's a slight concern he's not run since, because I'd kind of like to have seen him get a bit more experience on the course because he kind of runs around a bit. But if they've been able to iron out those kinks, and if he took a little bit from that race, I think he's one not to be underestimated at big prices, but not a race I'm mad keen to wade into. Yeah,
not really Alan King to have champion bumper material type horses.
No, and it wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't run, but if he does, he's a really nice animal. Okay,
Favour and Fortune, one to maybe not for now, but for the future anyway. And then Incanto Bruno. Did you just say that?
Incanto
Sorry,
Bruno.
Sorry. And Incanto Bruno and John McConnell. As I said, there's no appreciator at his peak and Cigar Hard and that light sort and Voyalen in here, which makes me feel like you can sort of forgive some horses at bigger prices. And potentially, look what Patrick Mullins decides to ride. He probably will ride the one that he bred, Fun. Not sure, she definitely might not run.
It'd be a bit heart overhead as well, I think. Because the one they really liked was the
Chapeau de Soleil
horse in the
Rich Ritchie.
Well, no, the stat colours. They had one win the other day, a big slow sort of looking horse, and he's not going to run.
Running.
And they were talking about how he was probably top of the order, and then you start to think, well, what have they got there? So yeah, it's a minefield for me.
Yeah, it is. Toasty, I completely agree. Hence why, and Chapeau de Soleil is a horse that I am going to actually put up, because I think, he was, I think, half the price before he got beaten last time. But we know there are horses that have been beaten. Fernie Hollow, Champagne Fever, all been beaten and gone on and won this race. I wouldn't be too concerned about it. It's to actually help the price. So I'm happy to go with him, but it's not really a race I'm going to get too involved in. Are you?
No. I previewed this race a couple of weeks back on betting.sbk.com, and I was doing a runner by runner analysis. A Dream to Share was the horse I thought was the most solid in the race, being recently purchased by Jacob McManus, unbeaten in 3. John Kiley knows how to win Grade 1 bumpers. He did it back in 2000 as well. Like, he's been at the top for a long time, but he's got obviously limited stock compared to Willie Mullins, Gordon Elliott, etc., etc. I thought he was really good last time out. I think he handles all kinds of ground. Good ground would be perfect, but I think he handles any kind of give. Chapeau de Soleil is the talking horse, has been ever since I think you mentioned it to us off air on one of the podcasts, and unfortunately disappointed first time up, but they clearly like him. If he goes off a big price, like 16s, I doubt he will. But if he does, then I'll have a bet on him as well.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a muddle and a bit of a mess, but I do think jockey bookings will be really, really crucial, especially from Willie Mullins' perspective. But we'll see. Champion Bumper, I'd have better days ahead. Jamie Codd likely to ride. He's another one. It's open, and I hope that you can get some good price for it. And I think Chapeau de Soleil, if Patrick's on board as well, but I'm willing to back him now and Patrick to get on, and then the price to crash. So we'll see how that one pans out. Okay, so we've gone from our main races. We're going to ask the guys for any fancies from the Coral Cup, Cross Country, Grand Annual. The big betting races as well. But before we do so, the Coral Cup, this was a great race last year, and SBK was best priced on all 28 races last year, and that was highlighted by Commander of Fleet in last year's Coral Cup. If you had £10 on him last year, you would have won £500 with Bet365, William Hill, Skybat and Paddy Power. But with SBK, you would have won 1,000. So that's double back then compared to some of the biggest rivals. So let's see if we could do it again. The Coral Cup, I love this as a betting race. Have you got a selection, Ross?
No, I don't think it's quite taken shape yet. But I do like Ballyadam, who ran well off 144 in the county last year. He was hampered on the turn and didn't have the smoothest run. And that was a big run off the back of having done absolutely nothing for a good number of runs. He looked like he stayed well up the hill. So this trip should suit. And then it was a big run, I thought, behind Gaelic Warrior last time. Again, over 2 miles, Dublin Racing Festival. Step up in trip. And his half-brother Legalised was a 3-mile winner. So there's a suggestion he should stay this trip.
Okay, so Coral Cup, any of the other, from the other races?
Grand Annual, there's 3 on the shortlist in the Grand Annual. Final Orders has just been a winning machine for Gavin Cromwell.
Yeah.
Only gone up £1 in the Irish tax. And he was a 4-length winner at Leopardstown last time. Jumping the last, you wouldn't say anything was going to win that 4 lengths. He didn't jump the last all that well. He was in quite tight, but got down and quickened away. I think he's still on a winning mark. Grey Diamond, I think that Cheltenham form's looking good. Amorous Girls won since. Fugitive was up to 149 now and won since.
Yeah.
And then one at a bigger price, a bit more sort of Mad Millerish, is sizing Popsy.
Yeah, we've been waiting for this.
Yeah,
but too safe for you. Yeah.
He's an old boy.
Yeah.
He's run pretty well over hurdles since the Pipers bought him. 5 lengths behind Tolworth winner Tamuris. Gets to run off a mark of 140 now in a 2-mile chase. Mm-hmm. Just thought that could be a bit of a pipe plot throwback job, but it's speculative, but it's a big price. Okay,
so 3 for the Grand Annual. Final orders, Grey Diamond and Sizing Potsy, and Ballyadam for the Coral. Some interesting horses, and the weights have been interesting, but those ones that are probably still well in. Right, TC, anything for us?
Yeah, just one from the Coral Cup, San Salvador. He's currently 43 in the race card and only 26 runs, so he'll need a few to drop out, but that's highly likely. Hopefully enough dropouts so that he does run in this race, though he has got entries in 2 other handicaps, so that's worth noting. However, I'm pretty sure Joseph O'Brien's been prepping him for a spring handicap hurdle like this, the Coral Cup. He's run twice this year, both pre-Christmas. First time up, he would have beaten a Gordon Elliott trainee called Rian, who's higher up the market. But he walked through the last hurdle, and I mean literally walked through it. He had a walking kind of trot stride. It was ridiculous. Poor technique, but he would have won otherwise. And then last time up, he would have bolted up if the second wasn't in the field. I think the front 2 pulled about 25 lengths clear in a big field handicap. The second's also running in the race, shorter price. So I think San Salvador's a decent bet. He's around 16-1 right now for the Coral Cup. Well treated off a mark of 138 as well. Good ground would be preferable, but let's hope he gets in. How
much did you say that he was put up by the...
I think it's £4.
Yeah, I think that's been around about the same for all of them. The same for my selection in the race. HMSC horse gone up £4.
Average 4.4.
Was it?
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
So obviously it's changed for some of the novices as well, hasn't it? So it's made a bit of a difference. I have a similar sort of type of horse, an HMSC horse for the Coral Cup, who I think has been planned out for this for a long time. He's only got 1 entry, Paul Nolan, shrewd man. He's gone up £4. He was a pretty high standard flat horse, rated 99. He showed that he can jump. He's a very strong traveller, which I really like for a race like the Coral Cup. And he's around about 10-1. I wouldn't really want it any shorter than that, but I think that, and he's probably just a little bit too high as well, gone up 4 to 143, but I do really like his profile. And that could be said the same for another Sam Thomas horse, who I think would deserve a Cheltenham Festival winner this year. Good risk at all. Love this horse. He's coming out of graded company back into handicap company. He can stay well. He might just want it a touch softer.
Yeah, if the rain comes.
I think if the rain comes, he's a very, very nice horse. I hope maybe Sam Tristan Davis on him. He gets a really good tune out of him. So those are the 2 for the Coral Cup for me. Okay, we're getting to the end of day 2. So as always, with all of our days, we've got a nap and next best. So Ross, you're first.
Nap is James de Burley in the brown. He's gonna beat Jess's good thing. And the next best is in pair A Pass.
Brilliant. You sure about
that?
Yeah.
Sure about the next best.
Locking it in.
Not for 2 there.
Yeah.
Move on.
Okay, moving swiftly on. Right. We've only got to day 2. It's already got wacky. Right. Okay, on to Tom's.
Energumene in the Champion Chase, I think he's a solid banker of the day. And then San Salvador in the Coral Cup if he gets in.
Okay, well, my nap, as I made quite clear earlier, is Jerry Colomb and in the Brown Advisory, and my next best will be HMSC horse in the Coral Cup. We're moving swiftly on, and we go from the old to the new course as well from Thursday and Friday. That will be the track that will be running on at Cheltenham, and we'll begin with the Turners Novices Chase. 2 mile 4 furlongs is the trip, and very likely to be a very warm order at the top of the market will be Gordon Elliott's Mighty Potter, who's looked at an exceptional chaser compared to his hurdle days, and he's got everything running for him, really. He's a horse that clearly jumps very well. I thought he was spectacular, Ross, at the Dublin Racing Festival. And Davy Russell looks like he'll be on board. Jack Kennedy's he won't be able to ride. But what do you make of him? Are you with him or against him?
I'm against him. Part of it's price. I'm not sure he's going to want the lively ground, assuming the rain doesn't come. That is a big assumption. And you're going to laugh at me again now, but a 9-length beating a Gaia de Menil at the Racing Festival over the trip doesn't really impress me. Gaia de Menil is slow.
Yeah.
3 miles 6 furlong National Hunt Chase slow. So at the price, I can live without him. They clearly think a lot of him, and that has to be respected. But Gordon's not been rattling in the winners in the last couple of seasons. They've had quite a few expensive flops. This is clearly a smart horse, but I just love Banbridge. Where he came from in the Irish Arkle to fly home, I thought was smart. I loved how he jumped around Cheltenham at the start of the year, and that form has subsequently worked out pretty well. Tommy Oscar, rated 152, he's won at Doncaster since. Even Fusain, who was a different county back in 5th, has won twice since and is up to 118. I just really love Banbridge, and he won won over this course last time, albeit over hurdles. It's definitely going to stay out, like I say, outpacing the Irish Arkle. The Fairyhouse run is the worry. But I think you could just, if you've watched Banbridge, as I think we all have, you knew after jumping 2 fences he was not on it that day, whether it was a fairly quick turnaround after 2 runs, whether it was the softer ground. I'm inclined to think it was a softer ground. You look back to his form, and every single one of his subpar runs is on softer ground. So if the rain comes, I think that does help Mighty Potter, and I think it hinders Banbridge. But working on the basis that I think even if the rain comes, it's going to take a bit of rain to change it because it's been so dry. Yeah, I love Banbridge. I think he's a really, really nice horse.
Yeah, and 2 from 2 at Cheltenham. And whereas Mighty Potter, been there once, pulled up in Constitution Hill Supreme, yes, he looks like a different proposition over fences and he's that year older. But I think to go back to your point that we made earlier about Jerry Colombe, who had been placed very well to get the best out of him, he's gone to the harder races and done everything he's needed to, hence his price.
Yeah, he deserves to be short, but I think he is slightly too short. And much like Ross has just said there, I think it's a match between the two, Mighty Potter and Banbridge. I snagged a bit of 12s earlier in the year on Banbridge, and I'm going to stick loyal to him. I think right now he should be vying for favouritism, despite the fact his recent form maybe isn't as good as Mighty Potter's, but it's not too far behind. So he's still a good price at what, I don't know what price it is, 9-2, 5-1, something like that. I still think that's fair. Mighty Potter, you said good jumper. I'm not convinced. I think generally a good jumper, but he is prone to one terrible mistake. He's done it in all of his races so far. And if he does that at Cheltenham, he could be on the back foot. I also don't love his head carriage. He runs with his head to the one side. It's just a bit, it doesn't stop him. It's just not aesthetically pleasing. And as you've touched on, which is my main angle against him, one start at Cheltenham, terrible, worst effort of his career. Maybe that was a blip. Maybe it had nothing to do with the track whatsoever, but I'm going to factor in that it did have something to do with the track. So I want to take him on. And I think Banbridge, who's 2 from 2 at Cheltenham, I saw him in the November meeting and he was phenomenal, jumped brilliantly, weaker opposition, but still won very decisively. I've got to take him even at the prices now. Yeah,
he's more reliable, you think, which is silly to say when you see so many ones against Mighty Potter's name. But we saw Ross last year, obviously, what happened with Galopin Deschamps. I know it's still difficult to talk about.
Please don't.
But if I can, just from a horseman's perspective, these are novices. They are prone to a few errors, and one small could cost them. So with Banbridge, who we know can jump and axe at the track, he sort of gives you a bit more confidence than a horse that still might have his question marks.
Yeah, I think Mighty Potter can just launch at one, can't he? And Cheltenham's not a track you want to do that. There's enough downhill fences and fences situated on angles and just out of turns and things like that. Whereas Banbridge looks very measured in everything he does. Probably, if you had a contest who can jump further, Mighty Potter would win that one against Banbridge. But Banbridge is very consistent, and I think consistency and ability is what I'm looking for.
I'm going to go for a bold prediction here. Third last at Cheltenham, Mighty Potter's going to be there on the snaff, and he's going to make a terrible blunder, and Banbridge is going to capitalise. Okay, interesting. That's exactly why I want to bring up the Galopin Deschamps point, because I think that this is the Cheltenham test is a completely different kettle of fish to lolloping around Leopardstown. I like Banbridge. I loved him last year for the Martin Pipe. It was a brilliant moment, and the reason why I wasn't in a good way on the Saturday after Cheltenham. But I just think that there might be classier horses in here. I'm going to go for Balco Coastal. I'm interested to see him stepping up in trip. I think he's better going left-handed. We've seen him jumping out of his left a little bit at Sandown at Kempton. I think that that team, Nicky Henderson team, is excellent at sort of ironing out a few creases, and I think he's still got a few creases. So I'm interested in him at a bit of a better price coming into this race. I think Nicky Henderson say, we need to step him up and trip, and we need to do this. He's just working him out, and I'm excited by his profile. Whereas we could have seen the best of, which is, I've said for a couple of horses, which could be said for Mighty Potter. So I don't think he's a good thing.
We should mention Appreciate It, shouldn't we? He's a smart horse. I'm just not sure he's quite what he was actually. Is the opinion I'm starting to come to.
I love him, but there were no excuses last time, were there?
No, I tipped him last time, and I'm well off that bandwagon now, I have to say. If he bounced right back to his best, he would definitely be a leading player. But you can forgive a horse a bad run, but that was a little bit too bad, I think.
He finished weakly, but he went with the pace. So you say, okay, maybe a slower pace season finished better. But actually, Dysart Dynamo went hard and didn't necessarily finish any weaker. That's the concern for me.
Yeah, I hate to knock Willie Mullins, especially because I know he listens to the podcast. But
he doesn't, because Sir Gerhard's in the wrong rank.
Yeah. But I don't think it was the best idea trying to turn him into a champion hurdle horse last year. And now he's 9, and it's going to just be difficult to find his level. But that is the turners to begin day 3, the Thursday. Banbridge for TC and Ross, and I'm going for Balco Coastal. Right, we're going to go head on to the Ryanair, where I think I'd say the sponsors, although I'm not too sure what they think, they're probably quite relieved that this race has actually turned out to be more of an interesting race than what it was. Especially with, it was going to just be about Allaho, wasn't it? All about Allaho. Could he make it 3 in a row? And that would have been brilliant, but there wasn't a huge amount else going on. And now Shishkin doing what he did last time at Ascot, winning the Arkle Chase. As you know, we've discussed on our podcast, Ross, he's just shown to be what we've always known is there. But essentially, this is his trip, and so many avenues might open up after this if he does get the job done, which makes it exciting. I just hope he does, and then he could turn into a King George horse at least. I'm not going to think about anything beyond that, but it's Shishkin's race to lose, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. There's been a lot of chat this week about, can he bounce? Will he bounce? Well, he can't bounce, because a bounce happens on the back of a second run after a long layoff. On your first run you put in a huge performance. He ran in the Tingle Creek. That was his first run. He had a short layoff, and then had his little issues fixed, had a little wind up, went up in trip, looked reformed by going that gear slower. Obviously, a few things fixed. He's arguably better left-handed. He's shown he can handle the track. He can get beaten, because you have to question, is he becoming a bit fragile? If they had to do a lot of repair work after last time. But for me, he's the only horse I can look at. I've backed him anti-post. I'm not going near him at 4-6, just because I wouldn't go near many horses at 4-6 at Cheltenham Festival. And there is a question that he's got to go and show he backs it up. But I was looking at the exact same turnaround in number of days between his Desert Orchid Chase to the Clarence House Chase, which was, clearly his best piece of form up until arguably last time.
Yeah, look, it is a bit skinny now, isn't it? But I think that's because it's a reflection on the competition that he has to run against, because I don't think he has to be as good as he was at Ascot last time to win this race. It'll be interesting what they do with Blue Lord. He is a horse that I did a lot of time for. Very disappointed to see him beaten at 1-4 last time out. Will they send him here? Not too sure. Does it really matter?
No, in short, it's Shishkin for the taking. Based on his Ascot Chase win last time out, Shishkin should be 2-5. So there is value there. But as Ross touched on, not only do you not really want to be plunging on a short price favourite at Cheltenham, no matter who the horse is, maybe Constitution Hill aside, if you're desperate for that short price big bet. But Shishkin does have that fragility. There is a worry that he's going to do what he did last year at Cheltenham, a small worry where he got to like the third fence and pulled up and that was game over. No one expected it. So you've got to factor that into the price. And that's probably why he's 4-6 and not 2-5. And also, I don't want to be that guy that goes and bangs the same drum that's completely irrelevant. But Conflated should be in this race, much like Sir Gerhard should be in the Stayers Hurdle. If Conflated was in this race, he'd be second favourite and I'd be tipping him. I mean, I backed him anti-post, which is probably why I'm saying it. And so adamant that he should be running here. But the connections are going incorrectly to the Gold Cup.
Which he won't win.
Which he cannot win. Yeah. Genuinely cannot win.
Well, if they ran here... myself for saying that, but yes, continue.
if he ran here, he'd be... in my opinion, at least second, maybe win if Shishkin drastically underperforms, but he's not. So this is really Shishkin's for the taking. Yeah,
it's ironic, really, that the Ryanair guys aren't sending their horse to their race. But anyway, just
you've got Fury Road, haven't they?
Yeah,
I suppose. And he might find it tough against a good Shishkin. I suppose it's one of those things we'll know going down to post if Shishkin's in the heart that he was at.
Yeah, you'll know really early on that he's either there. And then, barring mishaps, it's his for the taking, or he's not.
Yeah. Okay. I think we'll move on from that. I think it's a resounding agreement that Shishkin will win the Ryanair. So we've agreed. We've agreed on one. Didn't think it would be that one, but anyway, we'll move on. Let's go to the Stayers Hurdle, the championship race on day 3. 3 miles is the trip. Normally a race that people would rather not have to discuss. It doesn't really have much excitement around it, but it's really come into its own. It's in vogue at the moment, this race, isn't it? It's cool to talk about the stairs hurdle. And Blazing Carl tops the betting. Just the most amazing story, isn't it, really? He's lame one day, he's not the next. He absolutely brilliant last time. He is one, though, talking about the bounce factor, that could bounce, can't he? So that is the question with him. We've got Tiopu, who's really been a bit of a revelation, stepping up in trick. Marie's Rock, will they make the right decision and send her here? Flooring Porter, last year's winner and the year before, who's not had a bad prep in, Home by the Lee, who's been very, very good. And then you've got the likes of Classical Dream. It sounds like he's going to run, and a former winner in Paisley Park. This really, it's genuinely a good race, TC.
Yeah, it's a really good race, and Blazing Cow is the popular horse right now on social media, isn't he? Everyone thinks he's a good thing, largely led by a parody account who keeps talking him up as an absolute cert, but I don't believe that one bit. I think he's a terrible price, actually, Blazing Cow. He could easily win this race. You know, he's won his last 4. He's impressive. He's still improving, but 3-1 is just poor, given what he's actually done on the track. If he wasn't Charles Burns trained, I'd say he'd be 6-1 in this race. Flooring Porter, I've already said. I can't see him winning. You know, I'd love to see him turn up in the race. There was a portion of time where we were concerned he would even make the race, and therefore my bet regret, whatever, where I said that if he wins, I'll do any forfeit of both of you.
What have we decided? It's an Everton jersey at Kempton or something.
Yeah, I'm taking that all day because he won't win. But it'll be good to see him run here because he's won it the last 2 years. I had to find an alternative because I like Sir Gerhard Antipost. Obviously, he's not going here. Have I said that enough?
Stop talking about it.
And the alternative is Tihupu. More and more, I'm getting confident that he's going to win this race, which is surprising because I don't really like the stayers year on year as one of my leading races to focus on. But take out his 2 runs on good ground last year, one in the Champion Hurdle, one in the Irish Champion, where he disappointed both times. Almost flawless record. He's won 8 from 9 starts. Sole defeat came when he was done for toe over 2 miles by a horse called Jeff Kidder, who was off the flat, which is perfectly, understandable. 2 runs this year, both been superb. Clearly stays the distance well. Got a turn of foot. Seems to have everything you need to win a stayers. The one doubt I would have is if the rain doesn't affect the ground, because if it is good ground, then I would slightly cool off him a little bit. But if it's soft, I think he's got a phenomenal chance.
What about the sort of Mighty Potter point about the only time he's been to Cheltenham he ran badly?
That's true, but it was early in his career. Mighty Potter was very bad. It was very bad.
Early in his career.
He earned an RPR of 0 in that race, Mighty Potter. Tihupu ran slightly better than that. I understand that, but good ground, I think, was the reason for that defeat. Yeah,
and he's obviously been improved for a trip as well, hasn't he? Not sure if I'm not in love with the horse. I don't know why. It's just not. It's something about him I can't get behind. But I can see the cases. I think that Cheltenham thing just sort of sticks out at me when you look at the form. You're like, well, that was really bad. In and around some really, really good performances. So that just takes off, especially with the price that he is. Blazing Carl, obviously, Charles Burns' son, this was Sol Whip before. Got to mention also the French horse, Gold Tweet. He'll be supplemented. Gabriel Leander's happy to pay the money. Probably got just a perfect run round, didn't he, last time out? And I don't know if the form is as good as some of the others. For me, and I don't know what you think, it's all about, do they make the right decision about Marie's Rock? Because I think with the weight allowance that she is, the form that she's been in, she could win this race.
Yeah, history's proven that £7 weight allowance for the mares in these championship races is a really big advantage. She jumps, yet she perhaps travels a bit keen, but she always finds plenty at the end of her races. I think this is absolutely tailor-made for her, provided the ground doesn't go soft. I think Tihupu definitely needs soft ground. And I just am yet to be sold that he's an out-and-out stayer, because they didn't go hard in the Galmoy. They sort of dawdled and he sprinted away, and he had more class, and it was a fairly weak race. So at the prices, I could leave him alone. If it comes soft on the day, I think it gives him a much better chance. Blazing Carl, I'm completely with TC. His form last year tied him in somewhere near Giuliano Bello, who Paul Nicholls is not even going to run here. And it was really impressive last time. I think is a big danger he bounces. Although you imagine of all the people training, Charles Burns has probably got a way around that. But the second and third are limited, aren't they? Meet and Greet and Beacon Edge are pretty limited over the hurdles. So I can leave him. Flooring Porter, I'm not saying I'm sad, but I actually have on the Everton shop a shirt saying with Porter 3 on it, ready to go. But I think even if he does run, I think there's a potential steering Phalange can run. Dash or Drasher is probably going to run. He might just not be able to do things his own way this time. If they do run, it can create a forcible pace. And I can see myself the morning of the race having a few quid on Paisley Park as well, because I think a strong pace. He's definitely in better form this season.
Yeah.
Last time in the Cleve, they didn't go hard enough. It turned into a sprint, and the French horse out sprinted him. They go hard. I think you come up the hill as well as anything, and he's a big price. But for me, please, Mr. Henderson, supplement Rees Rock for this. I think he's got a great chance.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I must say, if you've listened to our preview podcast, I've always been a Florian Porter fan. I think one of the reasons why we've got this running sort of forfeit for TC is because I was so wanting and hoping for him to be, one of my biggest anti-post players of the festival. But this setback is not ideal. It really isn't, and it just dents my confidence a little bit. But if Gavin Cromwell can perform the Oracle, which he's very likely to, but it just worries me just slightly. So it would be a no bet for me if Maurice Rock doesn't run, essentially, because I think it's a watching brief. Because I feel like anything can happen. It could be a bit of a mess, couldn't it? But Maurice Rock with that weight allowance, doing what was it? Quevega or Annie Power, who was it that we were always desperate? We always wanted a mare to run in this race. I think it must have been Quevega. And she ran so many times in the mare's hurdle, and it was like, go for it, give it a go. And it turns it into a better race. Mare's hurdle's a good race anyway. So hopefully they decide. So we'll see. We'll watch this space for the stayers, myself and Ross for Maurice Rock and Tiapu for TC. Okay, from talking about mares, we're going to head into the mares novice race next, and we didn't talk about this at the beginning, and I want to mention it now because Lucia, if she might be still an option for the Supreme, and I think it's worth noting that I know that you, Ross, were keen on her if she does run in the Supreme. Are you still keen on her regardless wherever she goes? Wherever
she goes. In the Supreme, she gets the weight. In this, she's just vastly superior to all of them, I think. I think there's still a bit of room for improvement in her jumping, but she was better last time than she was the time before. High-class bumper form. Doesn't matter whether the ground is quick or bottomless. She can go on it all. I think she's miles clear of these. I like Princess So. She's been a really nice story.
Yeah.
I didn't think she looked like a natural jumper last time. I thought she was brilliantly ridden by Danny Mullins, who managed every single foot for her and got the job done. I'd be surprised if she's got the ability to handle this sort of test. And then obviously just a mention for Katira, who does hold an entry in this.
Yeah.
This is a drop back to 2 miles, and I think she's 2 mile 4 horse. So hopefully she goes for the Ballymore. But if she's in this, I will obviously have to have a few pound on, because I'd be sick if she won and I didn't. Yeah,
Lucia around about 13 to 8. It's unusual for Nikki Henderson to start a horse off and over hurdles in a listed race. That's what he regards her as. But I do like, and she jumps very well. She's the best jumper of this field. I just don't know what she's been beating. That's my slight question mark at the prices. And I just think Willie Mullins as a horse in Astro Diamond who has been running to a higher standard. So she just edges it for me. But I would like to see, I think Lucia has the potential to be better. It's just, I'm just uncertain about, the point that we've made about horses we were saying just beating trees, that's what we said about Impera Pass.
Potentially. I don't disagree with that she's been beating nothing, but also this race, there aren't many others that have actually been beating something. Like most of them are beating trees. So she comes in here, in my opinion, as one of the probably bankers of the week. I can't really add much to what Ross has said, apart from the fact that it's very rare that you get a mare running in the mares novice hurdle that could run in the Supreme. I think Lorena's probably the only anomaly in the last few years. That was in 2018. Yeah. Obviously the good Lorena before she went downhill. And Lucia could be the second mare to fit that brief. So yeah, I just think she wins. She's got the highest cruising speed, the best turn of foot. She jumps up fine. Like her technique isn't great, but she gets from one side to the other rapid. I think she wins.
Yeah, okay. Cheer. A lot of confidence behind her. Let's see what happens. I reckon that it's likely that they'll stick to the mares novices. And when they confirm that, I should probably get even shorter. So it's best to get her now. I'm just, again, at the price is going to go against her and go for Astro Diamond, but it's tentative, not a huge amount of interest in getting too involved in this from a betting perspective. Okay, that's the main look at all the feature races on Thursday. We've got, again, plenty of handicaps, the Pertemps, the Plate, the Muir. So, Ross, any fancies from any of them?
Yeah, I've got a few handicap fancies on Thursday. In the Plate, I really like Fugitive. He's a horse I followed all year. They'd like some rain for him. I spoke to the owner. They say he's in really, really good order. They're considering cheap pieces, might just help him travel in the early part of the race. But obviously he likes this track. I love That's All Right Gino. I think he's got loads of pace. I think he should have won at Kempton last time. I think he was given too much to do. And behind that was a big run behind Stage Star. Behind that, where I think he was ridden to find out if he was going to stay the trip. I was always very confident he would. I think he'd be ridden more aggressively. Now they know he stays. And then one that I'm really sweet on at a big price. Again, another Nicky Henson horse, Fusel Raffles. Form after layoffs, 150 days or more, is 1, 1, 1 and 2. But that second was behind Brave Man's Game, beaten 5 lengths, but he was giving him £12. His form did tail off over fences last year, but he finished with a decent effort at Sandon over hurdles off 149, I think off 145. If they've got him back, he's absolutely thrown in. He was second in Turners 2 years ago over this course and trip. And then in the Kim Muir, again, the John Joe horses, Monbeg, Genius, if he doesn't go in the Ultima, Coeur both of them, I think, would be better suited to the Ultima with a professional jockey on. And I'm not sure which amateur John Joe could get his hands on. I think Mr. Incredible was an incredible effort last time in the Classic Chase, where, again, he was very clearly ridden to get the trip, to get his piece of form that makes him eligible for the Grand National. I think they know he stays now. They can ride him more forward, and he'll have a good amateur on him, most likely, Patrick Mullins. But then one that I really like that might not be quite so obvious is Rapper. Really impressive course and distance on New Year's Day. Held up off the pace, finished really well. And Alice Stevens will ride him. She is really, really, really good. £7 she'll claim in this as well against amateurs that won't be able to claim. And she's really well suited by hold-up rides. Seen her do it all season, just times it brilliantly. I think he's a smart horse, around about 25 to 1. He'd be one of my big plays for an each-way place this week. Okay, brilliant. Some really interesting selections. I actually saw Fusel Raffles at the Kempton workout last week and looking really good in himself. I like to hear. Son of Sant, who I've done a bit of a profile on. I think he's going to have quite a good week as a sire and a broodmare sire as well, and sire of sires. So Fusel Raffles, can he get a Bachelor's Best? It'll be a bit of a Nicky Henderson special, wouldn't it, after 327 days off? Okay, a few horses definitely still decided where they're going to go, but thank you for your handicap suggestions. And TC, what have you got? Yeah, the Pertemps final is probably my favourite handicap of the whole week. It's a race I always try to get an anti-post punt on. Generally the only anti-post bet I usually have, but I've gone away from that this year with slightly more anti-post bets. This year I thought it was quite difficult, the Pertemps final, because of that Charles Burns horse at the top of the market, Shoot First, who just looks really well treated and won with ease last time at Cheltenham. However, came down on 2 Gordon Elliott trainees. Gordon Elliott's won this race 3 times in the last 5 years. Maxim, I think, is his number 1 this time around. He's gone up a total of £39 in the handicap this year, but that's because he was just ridiculously well handicapped at the start of the season. I still think he's well handicapped now. It just allows him to compete in a race like this because he was rated too low prior to his victory in a qualifier where he bolted up. Last time up, he was really disappointing. And, he was favourite for the Pertemps final before that effort last time. But he's now been pushed out. But I think that defeat, there are excuses. He was ridden on the bend, which actually this is very similar to last year when Jack Kennedy was on one for Gordon Elliott in Dunboyne. It was in that same race. He was ridden on the bend, and I fancied Dunboyne for the Pertemps final at the time. He didn't go on to feature. But Maxim was given the same ride. He got into significant trouble at the worst possible moment, lost all momentum, lost loads of ground. The leaders went miles clear. He was given tender handling from then on in. I think you can excuse the effort. I think he's well treated. Maxim will be my number 1. The other one is Salvador Ziggy in the Pertemps final, another Gordon Elliott runner, only if it's good ground. If it's not good ground, I don't want him. He ran okay behind Shoot First in the qualifier here in October. He'll be well suited by fast conditions. But if it's anything like good soft, he's not on my bet slip anymore. Okay, so Maxim and Salvador Ziggy for you in Pertemps. Just the Pertemps? Just the Pertemps. Just for you? Okay. Interesting. Great race. Nicky Henderson was 6 runners as well. Not keen on any of them because I've... No. Okay. I'm going to throw in Captain Morg, so I think they've just been waiting. The thing is, the Pertemps, everyone's just sort of
they get their prep in and then they wait for them. So everyone's got the similar kind of sort of profile, don't they? But I just like what Captain Morgs did at the track at Cheltenham. And I think he's always been very highly regarded. And I don't think we've seen the best of him. I think he's just been probably quite a tricky one to train. But I do like Captain Morgs the best of them. But they've got some lovely horses in there, including Walking on Air as well. And then thanks to the help has been a real talking horse in the race. But that's the Pertemps. For me, the plate, we talked about fast or slow, potentially might run in the Ultima. But if he doesn't and he runs in the plate, he's the horse for me for the reasons why we've said. Also, I'm intrigued by Kilcrut. Now, this is a horse that was a brilliant...
I thought I was meant to be the mad one.
Yeah, I know. Okay, bear with me. Obviously, his form as a novice and as a bumper horse, he was going to be the next. Yeah. He was going to be the next coming, wasn't he? And then it just sort of hasn't really worked out for him. And now in a handicap, I don't think we've ever seen him in a handicap. I don't know what he would be like in a handicap, but I'm willing to go with the class angle in a race like this off possibly quite a nice-ish mark. And yes, yeah, his head might not be still there, but Willie Mullins is a genius. Feel like you think I'm being mental.
I really like the horse. I just remember hearing Tony Mullins, who trained him originally, said that he was a very light-framed horse and very difficult to keep condition on. And I just wonder whether you see the best of him first run of the season, every season. But yeah, he's the classiest horse in the race, potentially.
Well, exactly. He is. There is probably a fragility question mark there. But Willie Mullins is a clever man. And he's got entries for absolutely everything, all the Grade 1 novices, and then also these 2 handicaps. And I think if they think that the rating is fair to give it a go in a race like this, then I'm happy to go follow them through. But difficult Thursday. I found it really difficult to get the really interesting sections from Ross. So we've got something for everyone on Thursday. As always, we're going to have a nap and next best selection for Thursday. So TC, you first.
Yeah, T Hoopu in the stayers is my nap. As I say, I'm getting more and more confident that he'll run a good race, but we need testing ground for him. And then the next best is Banbridge in the Turners. Hopefully he can outjump Mighty Potter and win.
Okay, yeah, there's a lot of love for Banbridge, which you had as well, Ross. Is he in your selections for?
He is. He's my next best, and my nap is Lucia in the mares.
Yeah, fair enough. Can see the case for Lucia. I'm definitely probably warming to her by the end of this. For me, my nap is Shishkin. The fact that you guys haven't met that I was just going to definitely throw him there as definitely as a nap. I think we all agree with him. And then fast or slow, if he does turn up on the Thursday for Martin Brasson, have redemption for last year being done on the line. Okay. That's it for Thursday. Right, on to the final day of the Cheltenham Festival, the Friday. It's Gold Cup Day, the pinnacle of our sport, and we've got so much racing and complementary action to go through. And we're going to start as customary with the Triumph Hurdle for the juveniles over 2 mile 1 furlongs, a race that the Irish have dominated. And I think safe to say that the division for us here in the UK is somewhat far behind. And that's reflected in the betting. It's just a Willie Mullins bingo, really. And I suppose, who's the best of them? What do you think, Ross?
Blood Destiny is the most suited to this race. And I think that's a really important distinction. Lossiemouth has been showing bags of speed off a slow pace. Got penned in last time, so you can put a line through that run in terms of her form. But it takes a stayer to win a Triumph. It's on the new course. It's a long way home. Only 2 hurdles in the last, God knows however many miles. You have to stay. And I just question whether she's got the stamina for this. Whereas Blood Destiny, I have no question over his stamina whatsoever. The price has shortened somewhat in the last week.
Yeah.
He was a bigger price, but I think he's the most likely winner. And I think actually Gala Massot will finish in front of Lossiemouth again, because for all she's keen, I think she'll see it out better as well. So yeah, I think it's Blood Destiny is the most suited of Willies to this race. But if you like Blood Destiny, you do have to give a mention to Beau Zenith, who beat Blood Destiny in France. And I think if it rained, that would help him. Absolutely bombed out at Sandown, looked better at Haydock. Gary Moore's a trainer I've got plenty of time for. But yeah, I think Blood Destiny beats the 2 fillies.
Yeah, you're right. The confidence has kind of been building gradually. If you look around and see where the prices are really suggesting that one horse is more superior than the other, then it is Blood Destiny, who missed the Dublin Racing Festival, and that was probably for the best because it was a bit of a nightmare for Lossiemouth. And Willie Mullins did come out and say the Warrior really was quite visibly worried about the market was going to leave from her. Don't really see Willie Mullins like that often.
No, I commented about it on social media at the time. Actually, I can't ever remember Willie ripping a shred off a jockey in public, and he did it twice on that occasion because it's Facile Vega and Lossiemouth. And I think I'd be more concerned about it leaving a mark on Lossiemouth than I would the Dublin Racing Festival run leaving a mark on Facile Vega, because she did run very, very hard from turning in. And it's often lost on people on the TV. And I was surprised when I first went to Leopardstown. It's a really tough finish. You know, from when they turn out the back, they're climbing pretty much all the way until the last 50 yards where it levels out. That was a big effort, I think, for 4-year-old fillies. And the reason fillies get a weight allowance is because they are a slightly more fragile type of animal. And youngsters are less physically developed than older horses. So I think, relatively speaking, that type of run can leave a mark on a youngster bigger than on an older horse. And
Willie Mullins is saying he didn't know why Paul needed to get his stick out, really, and ask her when she was beaten anyway.
Yeah, I mean, that, I think, well, the reason I have to do that, because it's a race in its own right, and the rules say you have to achieve your best possible finishing place, and that's what Paul was doing. But I think we all know that sometimes it's, and I've mentioned it before, that sometimes when horses make mistakes, I don't understand why jockeys don't just pull up and say to the stewards, I had no chance of winning, and there was a race X, Y, or Z in the future that I can look after my horse for, and that's a welfare issue. We can get carried into that. So for me, I just think Lossiemouth had a hard race, and I'd be surprised if Paul Townend rode her.
That was going to be my next point about jockeys, and he obviously has the number one choice, but you feel with what the market is saying that it is going to be Blood Destiny, and he's just had, as we've looked throughout the course of these, you know, of these days, who's had the best prep in to Cheltenham? Blood Destiny has. Everything is sort of going for him. It seems to me that he's the ready-made type. He's the horse that Willie Mullins didn't need to really send to the Dublin Racing Festival. And the confidence there. He's my selection. What about you? Yeah,
I'm not surprised. He's the horse to beat. I would, if you asked me for who's the most likely winner, I would say Blood Destiny. Much prefer him to Lossiemouth. I'm going to throw you both under the bus here. How many fillies has won this race since 2000? Hit me with a number.
Zero.
2. Burning Victory in 2020 and Snowdrop in 2000. Fillies just don't win the Triumph Hurdle.
And she only won it because...
Yeah, and Goshen unseated, so she was a fortunate winner. And Snowdrop was French, so, you know, there are reasons for why she won. They obviously get hurdling a lot earlier than our 4-year-olds. So, yeah, I think Blood Destiny is by far the most likely winner. Lossiemouth would be a lay for me. I think if I'm playing this race, it would be to lay Lossiemouth and not necessarily back anything else. However, you know, we want an each way or a win selection. So I'll try and give you 2 at big prices. And Ross has stole my thunder slightly with Beau Zenith. I think he's got a good chance at big odds just because he beat Blood Destiny in France. Underperformed first time up over here, better last time out. And the other one is Right So Tom, who has no chance. If you look on paper, no chance.
One of the more interesting reasons to put up a horse has no chance.
No, but... This
right,
horse,
so Tom, can you explain it?
This horse has the capability of improving a great deal. He's with Tom Mullins, who's known for doing fantastically well with horses that are not considered for races, but 2 young horses. And actually, Right So Tom made a good move into the race on Rule's debut behind Zarak the Brave. Now, Zarak the Brave was one of the leading players in this race before... well, everything went awry. So I think Right So Tom's got an each-way chance. Now, I'm not saying he's going to win. Maybe you want to be looking at extra places, you know, place-only kind of bet. But, yeah, he's under the radar, so I'll put him up.
Yeah, we have seen some big price winners of this race. We've also seen some the favourites winner. I don't think there's well, maybe Blood Destiny is the Vauban. He might be, but I think Vauban was like possibly a little bit more obvious because... he
was a good thing last year.
He was a really good thing at 6-4 as well. Blood Destiny for me, I think, Beau Zenith, I don't know, needs to jump better. The jumping wasn't good enough last time.
I think that's factored into the price though, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I'm sure they've done a lot of work with him, and the more team know how to get a right horse. But as I've said at the beginning, when previewing this race, I don't think our form is as strong as the Irish. So that would be my slight concern. Right, on to the Albert Bartlett we go. A race which I know myself and TC after last year.
Are you going to steal my thunder? That's the question here. No, go for it. Go on.
No, I'm not. I think we've all got our own reasoning around horses, and there are two I like in this race, and I know there's two that we all like in this race. But it's just a race that I really like working out. I don't know why. I think it's because there's so much potential with a lot of them. You're sort of trying to find clues that aren't that obvious. Yeah. And the style of racing, bringing out the best of them. And the Nice Guy was a horse that just was taking everyone's surprise, taking Willie Mullins by surprise. Does he have the winner of this race? Does his nephew Emmett Mullins have the winner of this race? He's the one, Corbett's Cross Ross, who has... he's got all the experience anyway. Yeah,
recently bought by JP McManus after having one run for Paul Byrne. Yeah. That's an incredible piece of business. Mm-hmm. You have to question why JP's people weren't getting it bought first time out, but there we are. Clearly got proven stamina for 3 miles, beat Seabank Bistro at Limerick very easily, and then beat Founder 50 at Naas. And that form has taken a bit of a boost with Parmenion, who was behind Founder 50 winning this Sunday. I think Founder 50 is a good horse over 2 miles. That Corbett's Cross was able to do that. I mean, we mentioned before, probably the only trainer in the country that would have run Corbett's Cross over 2 miles, showed loads of speed. You have to stay. He's got a nice profile for it. I just think he's got a class edge. He's going to travel easier than most of this field, and he'll definitely see it out at the back end. I think 3-1 is still a decent price for Corbett's Cross. And then my old mate Chianti Classico that you can laugh at me about again. I actually watched the race back from Wincanton this morning. Just gets his head down and gallops.
Yeah.
If there was a 4 miler, a 5 miler, 6 miler, this is the horse for it. Whether he's a now horse, I don't know, but he's 33-1. And in a race that I think's yet to really take shape, I'm happy to take a chance with him. Yeah,
okay. He's a horse that I think they would have been desperately keen to run in one of the handicaps. He just didn't qualify. Corbett's Cross likely to be favourite of this race, but things could change. It's always open. There's always good value to be had. Now I know that we both know each other's selections, so it's fine. But I'm going to let TC go for it and go and detail why you like one horse, and maybe we have the same reasons. Maybe we're going to even enhance it even more. So go for it.
Yeah, Shambally Kid is the horse we're talking about here. Trained by Willie Mullins. He's a big price in the field. He's currently 20-1. You know, last year everyone overlooked the Nice Guy despite having wins next to his name. Shambally Kid doesn't necessarily have wins, but he won last time up, when he was actually really impressive. He didn't jump very well, but he stayed. And that's what you want from a horse like Shambally Kid in an Albert Bartlett. He's been heavily punted both starts, which I think is key, given connections. And last time he beat a horse called Monty's... I'm going to steal it. I was going to use
go for it. I don't mind.
He beat a horse called Monty's Star, who you liked for this race prior to that race. And he beat him quite comfortably. I think there's plenty of improvement to come from Shambally Kid. He's actually my number 2 selection in the race, but that could easily become number 1. Because I was reading a Willie Mullins stable tour last night that one organisation has compiled, and there was no mention of Seabank Bistro, which is a slight concern for me. He was going to be my number 1 pick in the Albert Bartlett. I was really keen on him, in fact. But no mention. But there was of Shambally Kid, which puts me off slightly.
Yeah. To that point, I was just exactly the same as you. I went looking for all the Willie Mullins previews because there's so many of them, and he's got so many horses, he can't include all of them. I couldn't find Shambally Kid in that many of them either. No. So it was a bit of... I don't know if it's because he's under the radar or he doesn't know, and this is why I like him, because he doesn't know how good he is. Yes,
the one I read was published yesterday, and there was mention. So I would say we've got fingers crossed, and we're looking good. Whereas Seabank Bistro, I'm not looking so good now, man's post bet. But what I will say about him, yes, he got beat by Corbett's Cross, but Corbett's Cross is 3-1. Seabank Bistro is 22s, and Seabank Bistro was not given a good ride that day, and he was sent off odds on or near enough to beat Corbett's Cross. I think he's got a good chance of running close with that rival, who's a much shorter price. I would put him up as my nap of the day, and I know we're going to come to that later, but as I say, with the tenuous fact that he might not be running in the race, I won't be putting up as my nap of the day, but I think he's got a great chance if he does.
Okay, so Seabank Bistro and Shambally Kid.
Yes.
Seabank Bistro, obviously we've got so many Willie Mullins horses. Again, it's another one. I don't know what the jockeys are going to decide. And I feel Paul Townend is likely to be on Embassy Gardens, who has for a long time, and he's done nothing wrong. bolted up at Thurles last time. He's got the right makeup for this race. I just think there are other horses that look like a genuine sort of long-term prospect stayers. I'd love to see Danny Mullins riding our selection, Shambali Kid. I think he's just so good wherever you want to put a horse. But he definitely doesn't jump very well. No, but I think a better race might help him.
And experience as well.
And the experience, but I think a better race, a faster tempo will bring out a better horse, and we don't know how good he is yet. He's a very strong traveller. He's travelled very strongly into that last race and saw it out nicely, and the better he went. Maybe it might not be soft enough for him. He's a horse by presenting. He could be that kind of Gold Cup type in the future, and just watching it again, because obviously I did say the horse that beat.
Are you watching it right now?
Monty Star. No, I'm just looking at his form. I did say Monty Star in our preview because I like the fact that he's a relation to Monley, and again, he could be better for a bit further. But I just like the idea of Willie Mullins with the 20-1 horse who's won last time in an Albert Bartlett, who's kind of reminiscent to the Night Sky.
Yeah,
that he'd forgotten he trained in various
that he's kind of gone under his radar. I don't know. I don't know why. It's just a kind of something that it caught my attention really, really, really late last night. You know, when you can't sleep at night.
Poor jumping isn't necessarily a problem in this race, is it? Because the herders are so spaced out and so much galloping to do in the last part of the race that you can afford. Probably one of the few races actually you can afford to miss a hurdle or two and still get your ground back.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a really fair point. And the other one is Favre de Champedou, who I did put up last time, same owners, Gigginson House Stud. He's got 3 entries in the Ballymore, the Albert Bartlett, and the Martin Pipe. I think like you'd imagine he'd go here. Same ownership. He definitely does stay. I just worry they might not send him if the ground's not soft enough. So I'm not too sure about him. But the Shambali Kid for myself and Tom would be my first selection anyway. Ross Corbett's Cross and Chianti Classico for the Albert Bartlett. Great race. Really enjoyed getting into that race from a betting perspective. But the best of them all has to be the Gold Cup, which we'll get to now. And 3 mile, 2.5 furlongs as customary. And we've got a really, really good race. It's at this stage where you're just hoping that everything just stands its ground, because having no Long Presse is a shame. Really, really hope to see him. But Galopin de Champs, A Plus Tard, Statler, Brave Man's Game, Noble Yates, Conflated, Ahoy Senor. You just got a bit of everything. The best of the Brits, the best of the Irish. A horse in Galopin de Champs who could be a real, real superstar, couldn't he? But he's not done it over this trip at Cheltenham yet. And he has to prove that he can definitely stay, Ross.
Yeah. And you will not know that he definitely stays until he takes the final 2 strides up the hill, because it is that much of a test. I mean, firstly, you're absolutely right. It's nice because when you talk to people that aren't as immersed in racing as we all are, and they talk about 2 races, the Grand National and the Gold Cup. And quite often, are you excited about the Gold Cup? And you think, I'm excited for Cheltenham, but actually the Gold Cup is not a great race. Whereas this year, it is a really, really good race. I think Galopin de Champs will stay. I've backed him anti-post. I'm not going to touch him at the current prices because I think there's absolutely no value in it. It's a remarkable training performance to change this horse in a season from the tearaway, free-going, bold jumping horse over 2.5 mile he was last year to lobbing away last time behind the bridle looking like a handicap chaser. It gives him every chance of seeing out the trip. But actually on my feed yesterday, one man came up, winning the Champion Chase and powering up the hill. And you just know that he, would turn in at Cheltenham and not get up the hill. And it's happened so many times before. So at the prices, I'm not confident enough that he'll stay up the hill. But he's a class horse. I love him to bits. I hope he wins. At the prices, a horse I'm very confident will stay up the hill is Statler. And 9-1 is an absolute gift of an each way price, because if he doesn't beat Galopin de Champs, he'll be the next best behind him. Yeah. I'm convinced of that. He'll stay well. Patrick Mullins knows him really well. Talk about an amateur in a Gold Cup, but Patrick is an amateur, perhaps in a little bit of style, but in terms of racing brain and nous and experience, he's, probably top 10 in top 10 riding. Won the National Hunt Chase last year, so the track holds no fear. If the ground came soft, it makes it more of a test. I don't think he wants soft ground, but I think it would perhaps expose the stamina of a few others. And then just one, again, a massive price, who will be ridden to pick up the pieces, because, again, there's a chance this could be a frenetic gallop. if it is a frenetic gallop, Eldorado Allen will have no part in it whatsoever and could just run past some very tired horses into a place he's 100 to 1. You know, he's not useless. He's not the class of some of these, but if some of them shoot themselves in the foot by going too quick, he's classy enough that he could make the frame.
Okay, yeah, big price for Joe Tizard's runner Eldorado Allen. This race, you know, again, as they all are, the championship race is fascinating tactically. And just to put this point, you know, how do you see it unfolding? What do you see, you know, from first to second fence, or how would you want it to be set up for a horse like Statler?
For a horse like Statler, I think he wants to make it, but I think he'll be right up there. I think a Hoist and Muir might go and try and make it. And I was really keen on him last year, and I've probably been a bit rude about him this year. They've done a really good job training him. He looked much, much better last time, albeit in a weaker sort of race. This trip will suit him on this track. His jumping for me is still a concern, but maybe he comes right at this time of year. But I think he'll make it. I think Statler will force it, and I think Paul Tannen will try and find a pocket, probably down the rail. I think he will ride and brave down the rail. He
did that with elbow and photo, didn't
he? Pop away, and then get his elbows out just to find himself a bit of racing room, turning down the hill. The great thing about a Hoist and Muir is he jumps out to his right, so that should create, because horses will follow, so that should create room for Paul Tannen to be able to stay on the rail and find a pocket of space, as opposed to having to navigate around the outside. So yeah, it's going to. I really can't wait to see what happens, and I just hope that Galopin Des Champs is still there, jumping the last, and then we find out just how good he is,
how special he could be.
This trip.
Okay, interesting. So if you think, and I agree with you, you think a Hoist and Muir is going to go out, make it, you know, make a good jumping test as well. Where is Braveman's game in all of this, TC?
I think he sits 4 wide up front and fails to get up the hill, unfortunately. I think he stays, but at the same time...
Lost the faith.
I have lost the faith. It's not that I've lost the faith. I still believe in this horse. I still think he's a Grade 1 top chaser. I just don't think this track is suitable for him. And I think he's already run his Gold Cup this year. I think he ran that around Christmas time. I think he'll come back for entry and maybe win an entry. But this race is red hot. We've already discussed, Ross and you have both touched on how many brilliant horses are in here. Unfortunately, that means the market has it pretty spot on, because a race with such liability, so many anti-post bets, the market is going to correct itself. We're going to have the right price on the majority of horses, and I think that's kind of the case right now. There's no value in many of those at the top of the market. I'm with Ross very much with Statler. Put him up actually the day after he won the National Hunt Chase last year, 18 to 1. Which I think is a good bet. If you follow me on Twitter, I'm not averse to tooting my own horn. So I think
what's the handle?
At Thompson, where's the camera? I should know that. We've done 2 hours of podcast now. I didn't even know where the camera was. But I think Statler's got a great each way chance. He's the best each way bet of the day, because he's going to be staying on, and loads of these are going to be crying enough coming up the hill. He won't be. He'll relish the distance. He's trained by the leading trainer. 2 good runs this season. Stayed on well behind Galopin Des Champs last time. First time up, developed into a sprint, which is the one thing he does not want. No. Yet he's still almost hit the front from Manella Indo, who battled back and beat him. Great each way bet. Yeah,
and he had the weight disadvantage, didn't he, that day? So if you think it will help benefit a stare, why can't we have a bit on Noble Yates?
I backed him last time out. I was disappointed, I have to say.
Without the cheap pieces on, put them back on.
I really worry about his jumping in a race of this class.
Yeah.
He can get quite low, a bit guessy. Okay. If he's still in there with a chance, he'll come up the hill well. But yeah, I just worry that he'll make enough not dramatic mistakes, fiddly mistakes, and just get himself on the back foot with too much to do. And then we mentioned it about Lossiemouth getting a tough ride with one eye on the Grand National. Are they absolutely going to want to go to the bottom of him to finish 4th or 5th in a Gold Cup? I completely agree with what TC said about Braveman's game, but I would say if Harry Cobden's sitting 4 wide outside of Hoist and Muir, he'll be severely testing Paul Nicholls' faith in him. That would
do what he did in the King George again.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he'll go down the rail, or he'll try and go down the rail, use his jumping. But I think I just can't see it that he's going to stay this trip in this fierce, ferocious gallop.
Yeah, I think they have to. They have to do it. It's like CandaceAbo. They had to go to the Gold Cup. You can't not. There's no real reason why you can't give it a go.
No.
But I think he feels like he's got a very different kind of horse than he does to that. I would, though, tend to agree. I think that was his Gold Cup, and Galopin de Champs could be extra special. Then what about the slight fly in the ointment, which is my selection, A Plutard, last year's winner. Loves it at Cheltenham, comes into his own at this kind of year, at this time of year, I think, as well. Obviously, that P to his name is completely against everything that you believe in. Can't have a letter and then back a horse their last run. But that clearly wasn't him. You have said this before. You said about Shishkin. You can forgive a very, very good horse for one bad run. Yes, we haven't seen him for a long time. There's a bit of confidence suddenly in the market around him. I think if we're saying that Statler's a good price at 9-1, A Plutard at 8-1, last year's winner, he's done it, been there, got the T-shirt, I'm happy with that.
Are you not concerned that last year they went fairly pedestrian in a Gold Cup and just the quicker horse ran past slow horses up the hill? Because that's how I sort of view him.
I think it's a better race this year.
Yeah,
I do, definitely, 100% do.
But he was a very easy winner last year.
Yeah, but I think I just have more confidence around a horse who's done it before.
On last year's performance, he should be 3-1. But the Betfair Chase obviously was a complete
it's helped the
blowout.
price,
It
essentially.
has, but then now you're factoring in, will he perform?
Exactly. What have they been doing with him? What's he been like at home? There's a lot of unknowns there.
I think he's a Marmite horse in this Gold Cup. I think you either love him and think he's going to bounce right back and therefore a phenomenal price, or you hated that run last time and can't forgive him.
Exactly. So you're either with it. And I think, again, I would love to see a superstar win this race. And Galopin de Champs could be that, but as the points that you said, it's just too skinny now.
Yeah, no, he's A Plutard's a really, really smart horse. Henry de Bromhead's form all season has been a bit in and out, and they're not yet hitting form. I mean, I hope they will, because it brings something extra to the festival. For many, many reasons, if this horse wins the Gold Cup, I would have absolutely no quibbles and think it was a poor Gold Cup and a poor result. Because we then have a dual Gold Cup winner trained by Henry Bromhead. So yeah, I can see the angle. I just think he'd like a slow pace that he can quicken off, and I think he's going to have to do a lot more in the middle part of the race, and that might not suit him.
Yeah, it'll be a phenomenal training performance. Yeah, he's not going into Cheltenham as it stands, 6th of March today, with the best form. He hasn't had a winner this month. He only had 4 in February. Yeah. It's not great. It's not great. That does concern me. But yeah, as TC's quite rightly said, it is a Marmite horse, but I think that's a good price, and as you say, the same for Statler as well. So both and I think, was it not this time last year? Both very much napped Statler as well, and that was probably one of the best results for your week. So let's see if he can do it again for you guys, keeping the faith in Statler. And A Plutard for me in a race which is all the talk has been for a long time about Galopin de Champs, but will be a wonderful race to watch. I'm looking forward to that on the final day of the Cheltenham Festival. Okay, we've got one more race that we're going to focus on, and then we've got our fancies from the handicaps, the Mare's Chase. I don't particularly have any massive opinions. Either of you have a massive opinion that you want to share?
Not massive opinion. I very firmly of the belief that Allegory to Vassie is a much better horse than Impervious.
Oh, okay.
I think she's
not a massive opinion, then comes out with that.
Yeah, I know.
I think she's a really nice horse. That said, 6-4, given what she did at the first fence last time, is enough to put me off. Be absolutely no surprise to see her bolt in, but I can happily watch her at that price. I think she's a really nice animal. I don't understand why LMA is 25-1, because we had this last year that the novices made up the bulk of the market, and actually when it came to it, their lack of experience was fairly telling. So I think Ellie May, I will definitely have a few pound on her, because I think you know what you're going to get with her. For all, she may just be slightly on the downgrade, but I'm prepared to chance that she's not. And then Tell Me Something Girl has got hurdle form that ties them in with this. She lacks a bit of experience. She's from Henry.
Could she jump?
I think she's jumped patchily, and I think I like Henry de Bromhead training chasers. I think they jump well. So I think if she lines up here, she'll have shown something at home that suggests that she's taken her learning and can do better. But I take on board that she's not been the best jumper, but she's 20-1. Allegory Devassi is 6-4, so I'd happily take my chance because I think she's got ability. She was sent off a fairly short price for the Mares hurdle last year.
I don't know if she can jump at all. I'm sorry. A race which I didn't think we would have massive opinions about is actually turned into quite a good race to watch last year. But I completely disagree about Impervious Allegory Devassi. I think Impervious is totally underrated for what she's done, what she achieved, what she did last time. You agreeing with me, TC?
Yeah, I'm fully with you. I think Impervious is the filly to be on the mare, to be on here. She's 6 from 9 in her career. She's 3 from 3 this season. She smashed Dino Blue on her penultimate outing, and then last time out gave weight and a beating to Journey With Me, who I've always considered a really good horse. Also in that field was Manella Crooner and Hardor, both of whom, yes, aren't Grade 1 horses, but they've run well since. That was a clear career best. She stays, she jumps. Allegory Devassi, I know my old colleague David Jennings at Racing Post has napped this horse for the week. How can you nap a horse that jumps like this? No horse can win at Cheltenham, apart from Mount Ida, that jumps that drastically out to the right. She has all the ability. She's probably the best horse in the race. I agree with Ross there. Massive engine, but she will be losing lengths at every fence. If you watch this in running, and after 3 fences she's jumping straight, she'll be a very short price, but I doubt that'll be the case. Yeah,
she gave Paul Townend the scare of his life, but it was actually more, if Paul Townend hadn't stayed on board, I think everyone would have got a very hard time. But she's quite exuberant. She sort of overjumps, isn't she?
Yeah, but she learned after it. Like, she didn't carry on doing the same daft nonsense. And they are allowed to make, you know, in my sport eventually we train them quite a lot to let them make a mistake and take the learning, and if they don't take the learning, you're perhaps looking to let someone else ride them. But I think she got better as she went on, and the jumping to the right, there's a lot of space to the right at that fence in particular, so I wouldn't have, you know, when you're turning left, they tend to be thinking left, and there's a rail to her left, so I'm not completely sold she can jump out to her right. I just hope she doesn't launch at one early on.
There's too many inconsistencies there for me then. Impervious, straight as a die, solid, jumps through a brick, runs through a brick wall for you. Love her, absolutely love her. And yeah, big thumbs up for Impervious for me in the mares. And TCA is in agreement. Tell me something, go on anyway for Ross in the Mares Chase, which I didn't think we'd have so many big opinions on, but good that we've kept it running. Right, we're nearly coming to the end now, and Friday can sometimes be the day that you need to get out of a bit of trouble, especially when it gets right at the end of the Martin Pipe, and Banbridge definitely did last year for me. Obviously there's the county hurdle as well, there's the Foxhunters. So Ross, I'll start with you. What do you like outside of our main feature races?
So in the county, I tipped Pembroke on my Twitter, an unusual Twitter tip 3 or 4 weeks ago. He was 16-1. He's now 8-1 for the county. Just didn't stay last time, but did everything else really nicely through the race, travelled well. In what is normally an Irish benefit, Dan Skelton's the only British trainer in recent times really to stand up to them. He's won it 3 times, so I think he knows the type of horse it takes to win. Thought mark of 136 was perfectly fair. Soaring Glory's back on his last winning mark. He's a sort of horse that's disappeared, but he'll love a fast pace, and he'd love it if the ground was good. You have to mention Sharjah off 155. That looks workable. And they did it with Arctic Fire. I think he won off 158, I think, or something like that. I just, with Sharjah, wouldn't be convinced that he wants the hustle and bustle of a handicap. I just wonder whether he likes doing his own thing in a slightly smaller championship race field and picking up the pieces, whereas in this he's going to have to do everything through all of the race. So those are my 3 in the county. In the Martin Pipe, I really like Hiroko. Oliver Greenall, Josh Guerrero trained, beat Rafferty's Return an easy 14 lengths last time. Now, Rafferty's Return's not a superstar horse, but he is a solid mid-120s to low 130s horse every day of the week. Hiroko beat him really easily. These guys know how to line one up and have a target. So I'd be really keen on him. And then the Hunter Chase, which I do like as a race. Dandy Dan is 25-1. Flew home in the Horse and Hound Cup last season to be beaten about 10 lengths behind Vorselay, who's favourite for this race. He was 30 lengths turning out the back at Stratford. That was under a novice rider who probably gave him a little bit too much to do. I've spoken to the trainer, James Bourne. They've got James King booked. He had a sit on him this weekend. He ran 3rd in the point-to-point last time, again, given a bit too much to do by the novice rider. They say he's in great form. He'll love the Cheltenham Hill. He's already won at Cheltenham at the Hunter Chase meeting in May, which if you've not ever been is a brilliant race meeting to go to. I think he's got an outstanding chance, 25-1. He will not be, if Vorsley wins, he'll be just behind him. He's a really, really strong stayer. And as we've mentioned before, these amateur races, they can go hard early. The harder they go early, the better he's going to come home. Same for Premier Magic. He was quietly fancied last year and got hampered at sort of 5th or 6th fence, was on the back foot, could never get into it. Bradley Gibbs says he's in good order and he's an intended runner. So those are my two in that. But Dandy Dan is a good bet, 25-1, I think. Okay,
yeah, I mean, it's Dave Christie's got some very nice horses in that race, hasn't he? I actually really like Fern's Lock. I think I'm very impressed with what he did beating Billaway the last time. But Vorsley,
is he going to run? I think Fern's Lock is unlikely. I think they're going to keep him back for a year. Yeah. Okay,
that's fair enough. Then Vorsley, best of David Christie's and trying to sort of get redemption for getting beaten on the line last year with Winged Leader, who might go as well. Don't know. He's
think so,
in it too. Yeah, and for what it's worth, Rocco, I agree with. I think Toby wins. Good young man. I assume that he'll be on board.
Yeah, and he's gone through his claim quite quickly. Perhaps wouldn't have as much experience as some of them, but he's riding really well this season. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Some very interesting handicap selections for the Friday. What about you, TC?
Nothing else for me at this stage. Betting.getsbk.com on the day before. You'll get some selections for every race, but yeah, no extra selections right now.
Okay, so as I said, a rocker for me. I've also liked 3-Card Bragg and the Martin Pipe as well. Like to see if Cian Quirk, I want to see what he gets on.
Disappoint you now. He said yesterday he goes to the Albert Bartlett.
Right, okay, there we go. Thank you.
Lie through that one.
Lie through that. I'll cut that one out. Thanks.
There's time to change. I saw an interview. Ruby Walsh had said to him to go for the Martin Pipe because they'd win it.
Yeah, well.
Now, you sleep on that. That's Ruby Walsh giving you a bit of information. He knows what it takes to win a few Cheltenham races. So maybe now he's heard Jess Stafford as well. Ruby Walsh and Jess Stafford. Maybe Max McNeil will change his mind and go to the Martin Pipe.
Okay, well, for what it's worth, also Martin Pipe, it is for the conditional jockeys. We've seen some excellent jockeys through the years. JJ Slevin, John J. Neal Jr., Sean O'Keefe 2 years ago. I think it can really be a moment for these jockeys to go from one point in their career to the next. And just another word on Cian Quirk, I think has been very, very, very good this season, and I'd be interested to see whatever he gets on. So there we go. Something a bit different for you to end out the Fridays. To TC's point about the content that we've got over the Cheltenham Festival, TC and Ross will be back to preview every day of the Cheltenham Festival. So make sure you subscribe to the SBK Betting Podcast on YouTube, whatever podcast provider you listen to get more from them, real-time updates, as things will be changing, won't they, throughout the course of the next while. Ground is a big factor, making sure every horse is not stepping on any stones. They're waking up happy on the right side of the bed. So we're the right place to give you real-time, up-to-date information when you need it. Okay, we've come to the end. We've got to the end of the point where we've gone through all of our main feature races. We've given you everything that we have revised. We've been studying hard for you all. And now we are going to have a nap and a next best and a place play from all of us, each one for the whole festival in total. So TC, take it away.
Yeah, we'll keep it simple. John Barn in the Arkle is my festival nap. I don't think he gets beat. T Hoopu in the Stayers would be my next best. As I keep saying, I love him more and more. I don't really like Blazing Cal. I think you've got to take him on. And Florian Porter's one of my lays of the day. And my place play is Statler, because why not? He's a great price. He's going to be staying well up the hill. Others going to be crying enough. He won't be. He'll finish in the frame no matter what.
Brilliant. Okay. So from one to the next, have you got any similar ones, Ross? We'll see if you match or you something a bit different.
TC's going to scout me. The nap is Lucia. The next best is Gaillard de Menil.
Just terrible.
Oh,
terrible.
but I make up for it with the place players Dandy Dan in the Foxhunters.
I like it.
Fine. Okay. God, real U-turns, isn't it? It's strange. I don't know if we can talk again after this. Okay, my nap is Jerry Colomb, much to the disapproval of the two men on either side of me, but I think he's one of the best horses of the week. Really looking forward to seeing him in what's not a great renewal of that race. I think he can get the job done. HMS Seahorse in the Coral Cup for Paul Nolan, very true judge. I think they have laid this horse out for that race, and looking forward to that. And then Iroko, who myself and Ross both like, running in the Martin Pipe. That will be my place play. So that is it. Those are our naps, our next best. I think all that is left to say is good luck, enjoy the 4 days. Thank you, TC. Thank you, Ross, for joining me. And let's see how we get on. Good luck.